Eagles. Eagles.
And welcome in, everybody, to a Thursday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, John McMullen, as we continue to roll through right now in week 2 of the Eagles offseason. Still looking for that offensive coordinator. Johnny Mac, how you doing on this Thursday morning, my friend?
Doing well, yeah. Waiting for the Eagles call to talk to me about the offensive coordinator position.
Yeah, well, John, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if your name popped up at this point, John. Speaking of it, John, where are we on the updates? I saw the yesterday, toward the end of our show, we learned that Brian Daboll had preferred not only the Buffalo head coaching job, but the Tennessee Titans offensive coordinator job to the Eagles. I thought that was interesting to have his agent put that out there. Where are we, John, on the updates? I saw Matt Nagy interviewed yesterday. Give us the rundown, John, on the Eagles' offensive coordinator updates today.
Yeah, that was the news yesterday. Mike McDaniel as well, having a sort of conversation, but not a formal interview, which strikes me as doing them a courtesy, which people have, that happens. A couple years ago, it was Brandon Staley. The Eagles wanted to talk to him badly to be the defensive coordinator, and he talked to them, but it wasn't really. It was actually for the head coaching job, actually. Talked to him, but didn't really have any interest. And he was far along anyway, where the hell did Brandon Staley land? I can't even remember. The Chargers. And he was already far along in that process, but Arthur Smith as well. So it happens all the time. It's not that I do think people are starting to panic for no reason. I mean, okay.
Well, I don't think it's panic. I just think it's I think it's a reality check again after reaching the mountaintop last year and then like you always say, winning cures all, John. Well, here we are 1 year later. Kevin Petula didn't work out for whatever reason. And they're trying to hire somebody, and it feels like none of the good candidates, none of the people that are perceived to be great offensive minds in the league will even want to sniff the Eagles. And as you always say, this is not the offense that most people want to run. And maybe that wake up call is slapping people in the face a little bit, John.
Well, I mean, I have said for a long time, not a lot of people play this way. Not a lot of people want to play this way.
Right.
I think that is coming to, more clear for a bunch of people. So from that standpoint, yeah, I mean, there's certain guys, but and I wasn't going to start there, and I have to look it up. So, in that Nick Sirianni's class to be the head coach, the hot names were Brandon Staley, Arthur Smith, and Robert Saleh. Hot doesn't mean good. It doesn't.
That's true.
It rarely does, because you got a bunch of, I talk it all the time, you got a bunch of teams in this year more than ever with 10 interviewing off the same list with the same people, same groupthink. And the Eagles do it the same way, but they tend to, at least in recent history, they tend not to get the guys they want. Even if you go back to Doug Peterson, they wanted Adam freaking Gase.
Yeah.
And then it was Ben McAdoo on his way
down.
About
that, but at the end of the day, the perception is still the perception. No, I mean,
Well, the perception is the perception, but
it doesn't matter. But don't the Eagles care about the perception? I mean, they always have.
Yeah. I mean, I do think they're more cautious than other teams. Now, I'm not going to say, look, whomever they hire is not going to be their first choice, and they're going to spin it like it was. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because of just what I said. It's rare that these guys who are perceived hot and made hot, part of that, it's a bunch of different things. You have look at Buffalo. I don't know if anybody watched that shit show of a press conference with Terry Pegula yesterday. the Bills owner. Like, you can manipulate that guy pretty easily. A lot of these owners, the vast majority of the owners, have no idea what they're doing when it comes to the football side of it, and they're easily manipulated. So I don't know what these hot candidates list means, that when you see it year after year, and I just gave you a couple examples, you see it year after year where they don't end up being very good. And then the Eagles have a history of waiting, partially because they have to wait. I'm not saying that's not the case, because they're getting – look, let's make no mistake. Mike McDaniel didn't want to come here. Brian Daboll didn't want to come here. So they have to go down the list. But what it does is it gives you more time to have a better search and a more well-rounded search and talk to a bunch of people and maybe come up with the best option. Again, I think if you look at – if you want to go all the way back to 2016, was Doug Peterson a better option than Adam Gase or Ben McAdoo?
Right, sure.
Was Nick Sirianni a better option than Brandon Staley or Arthur Smith? So sometimes it's a good thing. Doesn't have to be a good thing. Doesn't have to be a bad thing. We were talking about Matt Nagy on the show yesterday. Just brought him up out of the blue. It was Mike Gill who brought him up. And all of a sudden, he's in for an interview. Guy's been coaching with Andy Reid for 13 years. And everybody, what Matt Nagy? He was
Mitch Trubisky to the playoffs in Chicago.
He was 34-33 in Chicago over 4 years, made the playoffs twice.
Yeah, that's pretty good in Chicago.
And look at what happened in Chicago after he left. Plus, he's been around Andy Reid, as I said, for 13, 14 years, whatever. Oh. I mean, that guy's not a better coach than Mike McDaniel. Why? Other than the perception. And maybe he isn't. I'm not saying he but I'm saying that the gap isn't nearly as large as people think it is. And the point is, they might end up, this might be a silver lining. I wrote about this yesterday on Sports Illustrated. And this might be a silver lining, that they get to talk to a bunch of people and make a better decision. Because I said, Mike McDaniel and Brian Daboll weren't interviewing. They were expecting recruitment. They were a 5-star recruit. You're going to give me this. You're going to give me this. You're going to get what? Get out of here. Who are you? Brian Daboll to me was the number one guy, because from the Eagles' perspective, because I never thought they had a chance with Mike McDaniel. So, I focused him on him because, the noise was pretty strong that the Eagles, were seriously interested. And I'm not trying to say they weren't, because they were. And I put it out there when he interviewed. I put it, a big one for the Eagles, some, superfluous tweet, whatever. And a bunch of my New York buddies who cover the Giants are laughing. They think he's a moron. And they watched him up close for many years. They think he's an abject disaster. So, and I'm not saying he is, because I think he's a good coach. I think that's unfair, but the point is, the perception overwhelms everything. Like, Matt Nagy was a better head coach than Brian Daboll. He's got a better history from learning from one of the best NFL coaches ever, offensive coaches ever. And what's the perception? Oh, Matt Nagy.
He's a stiff. Exactly right. It's true. It's true.
And I'm not saying the Eagles are going that way, but that's just an example of, like, who cares about the perception?
So is Matt Nagy a good fit in Philadelphia?
Well, I don't think he'd be a bad fit. He's got experience. He's done play calling. Andy's a little bit different because he toggles back and forth. He'll give it, and you never even know it. But he's done it before. He's been a head coach. I would say two playoff appearances in 4 years, and he didn't win either playoff game. He lost the double doink game. That's pretty good in Chicago. And again, look at what happened in Chicago after he left. They really bottomed out. Yeah, I would have no problem with Matt Nagy. And I'll give anybody a chance. I have no problem with anybody. It could be Mike Kafka. Same thing. Long history with Andy.
Well, is it going to be their offense? This is what we still don't know.
Well,
right.
I think that has more to do with what works. And that has more to do with the quarterback and things like that. So,
but haven't we already seen enough to know that? Well, maybe not. I mean, we'll see what works. I guess you're right.
Well, they have to. And people hate this. They have to execute, well. And if they do,
absolutely. If the players that are supposed to execute well are, I don't want to say incapable, but it's a harder thing for them to execute.
Well, then they're going to have some problems. Yeah, if the players don't perform well, they're going to have some
for example,
problems.
let me ask you this: most fans, we just talked about perception. Most fans think the perception would be that Kellen Moore is a reason that people would look at this job and think it's a good job. Kellen Moore comes here and he gets a head coaching job. I'm of the belief, and I might be wrong. I'm fine to admit that. I might be wrong. That Kellen Moore's stint in Philadelphia was actually a deterrent to people who have confidence in their offense and their abilities as a play caller, because they're offensive guys and they look at Kellen come here. They tried to run Kellen's offense, which by all accounts is a good offense. It was in New Orleans, it was in Dallas, and it was even in LA before he got fired that year. He didn't even run his offense. The only way Kellen Moore got a job was if they had a historic offensive line and run game. So if I'm Mike McDaniel, I'm like, well, Kellen Moore got a job, but he wasn't even able to run his offense.
Well, I think he was able to. I think he was smart enough to.
He was
not. And by the way, I've said that pretty consistently. That's the earmark of a good coach. I do agree with you that Kellen Moore got a head coaching job because the Eagles won the Super Bowl. No other reason. Not because of his no other reason. So is it, are people looking at that the same way fans are looking at and saying, no, they're not. Clearly, they're not. But that's one of my issues with Mike McDaniel. Maybe would have changed, and maybe will, but he seems to me to be a scheme guy. Like he's going to run his scheme.
Yeah,
I don't want that guy. I don't want that guy for any team, because eventually, if you're around long enough, you're going to cycle to not having the personnel you need to run what you want to run. And are you going to be able to adapt to that? So that's how I think it's a positive in Kellen's resume that he scaled back and took advantage of what he had. I think that's a positive. But make no mistake, he scaled it back to fit the personnel he had. And it worked. So he's a head coach. But I think that's good coaching. I don't think that's bad coaching.
No, I'm not saying it's bad coaching. What I'm saying is that the perception to offensive guys is not that it's this great job because of Kellen Moore's success here.
Oh, no. Nobody's buying that. Look, everybody wants a boy. It's the same with the offense. And why was the offense bad? Everybody wants to boil it down to one thing. Well, so-and-so doesn't want to come here because of Jalen Hurts. So-and-so doesn't want to come here because of Nick Sirianni. So-and-so doesn't want to come here because of Jeffrey Lurie's short leashes.
The drain is clogged, John. They can't move the ball on offense because they can't throw the ball consistently well. That's but
the point is, and depending on who you talk to, you get that. Well, he doesn't want to come here. No, it's a whole realm of things, and that annoys people. It's similar to what Nick said about the offense. Everybody's got their fingerprints on this. The players didn't play well. Kevin needed to do a better job. Nick needed to blah, blah, blah. People don't like to hear it, but it's true. Everybody's got their fingerprints on it. Everything's got their fingerprints on this. Some guys don't want to come here because of the quarterback. Some guys don't want to come here because of the offense they think they're going to run. Some guys don't want to come here because of weather. Some guys don't want to come here because they like California. Some guys probably don't want to come here because of the fan base. It's a whole realm of things. Everybody's got their fingerprints on this. Same thing. People don't like that. They want one reason. But there's not a lot of offensive minds who are dubbed hot. And again, I've said this from day one. The guys who have options are not going to choose here. Not everybody has options.
I'm gonna go to the Titans in Buffalo. The Buffalo, I guess, obviously makes sense because of Josh. But you talk about weather. You talk about. Think these guys want to go and coach in Buffalo?
Well,
I mean,
no. Again, you're centering on one thing. I just gave you 7 things.
I understand, but I don't think a lot of those variables are relevant to the conversation.
The quarterback's not relevant.
All the other variables, of what you said in terms of this is Philadelphia.
The players, the declining,
one of the highest profile teams in the league. Nobody wants to coach the offense.
The declining production of the offense as a whole, and the players decreasing.
That's what I think is
that's not a part of it.
That's what
the old offensive coordinators house getting egged. That's not a part of it. That the owner firing everybody at the first sign of lack of meeting expectations is not a part of it. Yeah, I couldn't disagree with you more.
Well, that I think those are the things I think are relevant. The weather.
Well, that's what I just said. I listed all those things, and you only focused on
weather.
one.
You said Cali. You said all this bullshit. I mean, this is the first now. All of a
Mike
sudden,
McDaniel's wife and family are from California. You don't think that had a resonation on him?
Okay, I understand that's a factor. Do you think Mike McDaniel didn't want to coach in Philly really because of that reason? Number one, really, is that why? I think that was probably 8.
I don't know Mike McDaniel, but the point was that it's part of it. Yes. If you don't think your wife can steer you in different directions, get used to it, buddy. You're getting married. You're going to get steered on certain things in life. So, I always thought family is a big part of this for guys who have families and guys who have kids. Nobody, I've said this 3 shows in a row. Nobody wants their kids taking shit.
Well, I agree with you.
Nobody.
No.
So, but you're disagreeing that that's part of the decision-making process. And I said it's not one thing. That's the point. I also said it's not one thing. Everybody's got their fingerprints. They all have their fingerprints on it. No, not a lot of I've been saying it for years. I'm not going to come off it. Not a lot of people want to play this style of offense. Not a lot of people can run this style of offense.
That's what I think is the biggest part. That's the only thing I disagree with you on is the scale of how much.
I didn't say biggest. I said all these things can factor in.
Okay.
All these things can factor in and all these things, but everybody wants to boil it down to, well, they don't want to come here for the quarterback or they don't want to come here because of Nick Sirianni's offense. That might be a part of it. It might not be a part of it. That might be number one.
Part of it.
That might be number 1 on somebody's list, and it might be number 8 on somebody else's list. But it's usually a bunch of shit.
And it's nails on a chalkboard, this offense, John. I mean, that's what I think is the biggest.
You're hyper-focused on. I get it. You don't like watching this offense. You liked being at the parade. It was the same fucking offense. What's the goal? But if you have from a standpoint of Mike McDaniel, Brian Daboll, I think it's a silver lining because these guys aren't 5-star recruits. There's no evidence of that anywhere in their careers. They're built into this because we have this ecosystem where and you and I and everybody else in the world who does have a platform talks about their favorites and it becomes a whole thing. I guarantee you, and I gave you a couple of recent examples. Taking your time is never a bad thing when you're making these searches. Doesn't mean you're going to get it right either. But recruiting guys versus actually interviewing, I don't like. And that's what you would have had to do to get Mike McDaniel or Brian Daboll. Like, they're interviewing you.
Mike McDaniel.
I don't like that process. Why is Mike McDaniel interviewing anybody? Why? Because he scored 70 points in one game?
Well, is he a good offensive mind, you think? Or yes?
I do think he's a good offensive mind. But why is he interviewing people?
Because he's coveted and he has options. I mean, if he didn't have options, guess what? He wouldn't be interviewing people.
I agree with that. And it's not his fault. I'm not blaming him.
So,
but if that's how if that's how the Chargers or anybody else who interviewed him, if that's how they want to do business, that's fine. I don't think that's the way the Eagles should do business. And I'm glad they didn't do business that way. Might have not.
They would have if they could have.
And yeah, possibly. I'm not saying that is not the case. And I think it would have blown up in their face, just like Adam Gase would have blown up in their face, and Ben McAdoo would have blown up in their face, and Arthur Smith would have blown up in their face, and Brandon Staley would have blown up in their face.
It's hard to predict that. We don't know how it would have unfolded with different variables. But all right, I understand. So who then left? So you think Nagy's a good option then, John?
I think he's as good an option as any. I'm with
you on him. I think the perception on him is off. I mean, I think
I think his history is more impressive to me than Mike McDaniel's or Brian Daboll's.
Yeah,
I'll say that. I think he's more proven. But the perception is what it is. And he was going to get the Tennessee head coaching job till they shipped it off the end, to Robert Saleh.
Is Cliff Kingsbury going to be interviewed or no? I haven't heard his name.
No, a little surprised I haven't heard his name, to be honest, because he was a big part of the last one.
Well, I think he falls in the camp of the other offensive guys that wants to.
Yeah, maybe. People assume I say this with the draft, and when we get into draft season, I'll say it again. When you have these top 30 visits, everybody makes a big deal out of them. Sometimes these interviews don't go well. Like, everyone assumes if you interview someone, it's all positive.
Yeah, right. That's true.
Sometimes they don't go well. The best example of that was the what was his name? Geist, the running back. What was his first name? From LSU.
Darius Geist.
Darius Geist. Very good college player. Eagles brought him. Evidently, he was just an a-hole, and he's yelling at people. And I think he was yelling at Deuce Staley. And Deuce Staley's not the guy you want to yell at, but it's like sometimes they don't go well.
Yeah, that's true.
And I don't know if that's the case with Cliff, but I do think they were turned off by his last time. They were turned off by his demands with the coaching staff. So maybe that has eliminated him from this search. I don't know. Maybe they interview him today. Again, they do not, like most teams in this league, they do not confirm interviews, which I think hurts the Eagles, but that's falling on deaf ears.
John, do you think the owner's perception, you talk about all the time how he can be a little too quick to react, a little reactive in his role. Do you think the longer this goes on, and you might be right that they end up with a better candidate because of it, but do you think the longer this goes on, his perception continues to shift on potentially Nick Sirianni? You obviously saw the report, about almost got fired after week 4, almost got fired after 2023. Like, it almost feels like the guy's walking a thin line. And if Jeffrey Lurie, who's a part of the search, is like, nobody wants to coach here, do you think his perception of Nick changes more than it already has?
No, I think,
Remember, Doug Peterson was fired, not right away, right? It was like a few weeks after the season ended.
Yeah, well, he's not getting fired now, if that's your...
No, I'm not saying he's going to get fired, but I'm wondering how Jeffrey Lurie's thought process evolves
Well, I hope he's got somebody saying, "Well, you're a part of this." That's tough to say.
I doubt that someone's saying, unless he listens to Birds 365, which he might. I doubt someone's told him that.
I hope somebody has. I hope he's got somebody.
I think you and I both know nobody's told Jeffrey Lurie that.
I don't know that. Successful people have sounding boards who are honest with them. Some do, some don't. Some are, very authoritarian. So I don't know. I hope he has somebody, because he needs somebody to tell him, look, you're part of this. You're not. If that's even the case, then he's worried about losing these coaches. If that is the case, and I don't know if that's the case, but if it is, I hope somebody's in his ear and has the wherewithal to say, well, your fingerprints, just as I said, are on this, just like everybody else's.
Yeah.
Everybody else sees the history here. And you can point to the positive of Kellen Moore getting the job and Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon getting head coaching jobs. But in that same era, how many coordinators got the axe? There's actually more coordinators, because you had Sean Desai and Matt Patricia. If you want to, that's two in 1 year.
Kellen Moore thing is, I think that's widely regarded as like, oh, well, he got a head coach. He, two got fired, but two also got a head coaching job. I think if you look at the context of Kellen Moore, offensive guys don't think that that's all that.
Well, the context to that is, I think guys understand he got a head coaching job. Guys in coaching certainly understand he got a head coaching job because they won the Super Bowl. And now they look at the talent, which everybody perceives to be the best in the NFL. Still good. It's not the best in the NFL. And I think a lot of people, is what I said, see a declining offense from a skill perspective. And
like here's where I struggle with that, because I agree they probably see that,
and it's only getting worse because Dallas Goedert's not going to be here. AJ Brown might not be here.
So like that
Lane
means
Johnson might retire.
Tennessee doesn't have the offensive talent now. Even if the Eagles' offense is declining, I guess the no expectation there is enticing.
Well, you have 2-3 years.
And no taxes.
You don't know you have more than 12 months here.
11. In Patullo's case, 11, 10 and a half.
And it's championship or bust here. Like, making the playoffs ain't going to cut it. Now, you can go and perform well and lose in the divisional round or lose in the championship game and get a second year, but it's, hey, the history is what it is. And people can point to the lack of efficiency with this offense, which is completely fair. But look at the efficiency of Brian Johnson's offense. And he's out. He was out because of, I still don't know why, but he was out.
And to your point, that would highlight that owner problem. Why was Brian Johnson fired?
Well, I think more. And again, you don't know how people work with each other day to day. There could be an indication, like, Nick was helping, similar to this year. Everybody made a big deal of Nick was paying more attention to the offense. The same thing happened that year. So maybe the perception was that in the building that he's not ready for this position, that kind of thing. That's hard to measure. Are guys listening? Do you control a room? That was a big issue with Sean Desai. He was an extremely smart guy. Just, some people, everybody has somebody in their own life that just sort of is a big personality and people like them and whatever. Most people know that type of person. And then there's introverted people and who struggle in certain situations. Same thing. There's a lot of human stuff that people don't think about. And the only people who know if these guys are ready to be in the position they are the people coaching with them. So maybe Brian didn't deserve to have the position. But from a number standpoint, it's hard to argue it.
It seems like the Eagles brass seems like Nick Sirianni's a caboose.
Yeah, I don't. Like I said, there's so many. Like, I don't care what you say to anyone in this league. Howie Roseman's running the Eagles. Like, that's the perception, and that has overtaken everything. I tell people, Nick doesn't even report to Howie. They don't believe it.
You do see why that is. It doesn't mean it's right, but you do see why that is.
Well, yeah, but so what? I do see why it is.
All the changing variables in Philly constantly. The only constant is Howie Roseman.
But it's not just because it's the perception. Again, that doesn't mean you have to. Like, I'm not going to sit here because people beat me down and lie to them. Like, Nick does not report to Howie Roseman. Nick is in charge of the coaching staff. Now, is it much more layered than that? Yes, because Jeffrey Lurie's involved. Now you got Julian Lurie involved. Howie does have a stronger relationship with Jeffrey Lurie because he's been around him longer. He's developed more trust. So there's a lot of layers to it. It's just not that simple, but it's also not as simple as people saying, well, Howie's doing this and Howie's doing that. Howie isn't doing that. For instance, you know, when people see leaks and they say, well, Howie's giving this to Garofalo or Howie's it 99% of the time it ain't Howie. And I'm not saying he's never done it.
I mean, I do find it funny though. The end of the season press conference, Howie's like stopping the press conference to tell everybody how great, how elite of a connector Nick Sirianni is. I'm like, please, dude.
Oh, he's trying to talk up his head coach. And because I think Howie gets along with Nick better than Jeffrey gets along with Nick. Like, I don't think Howie wants Nick to go. Because they work well together and they've had a lot of success together.
They do seem to like each other. Seem to work well.
And I think if it were up to Howie, and if Howie truly was running things, I don't think you have this kind of upheaval. Because I think he trusts Nick more. So, you know, but, you know, people are going to believe Howie's the puppet man. And sometimes I
think Howie is more honest with himself than Jeffrey Lurie is. I mean, obviously. Like, I think Howie's not delusional as to why the offense looks the way it looks. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he is. Maybe he thinks that it's all Kevin Patullo and they needed to, you know.
Nobody in that building thinks it was all that's the
not even the owner.
No, I again, he's with Jeffrey. It's harder to measure because I don't know who his sounding boards are. If he listens, he knows. But again, when you talk about people worth billions of dollars, you don't know if they're listening, as you see from Terry Bagula, you know. Or they're being manipulated, one or the other. The people will understand how to handle them.
Seems to be a trend of these teams keeping the GMs and moving on from the coaches.
Well, yeah, because who's closer?
Yeah.
Who can manipulate them? Like when the coach is doing his job, the GMs tend right next to the owner on game day.
Yeah.
So who can manipulate the owner better? And I think Jeffrey's far more savvy than the average NFL owner. But you just saw it in live and in color. Everybody should go back and watch that Buffalo press conference. Because Brandon Beane, you know, Terry Bagula stopped in the middle of a press conference and said, the coach, because Keon Coleman's a big deal up there because it was a bad draft pick, whatever. It's like a second-round pick. Who cares? But and he jumped, well, that was the coaching staff. First of all, you never do that in public. Most people don't. You can see the guy, and the guy sitting right there. The coach just got fired, and the guy gets a promotion. He's not only the GM now he's the president.
He's got to justify the promotion.
Brandon's doing a good job manipulating that situation
That's a tough look, man. That's cold to Sean McDermott.
With an owner that has no freaking clue. And I think Jeffrey has more of a clue than that. But there was a perfect example live in color of the GM manipulating the thought process of the owner. Live and in color. It's much easier for the GM. So to your point of they move on for it. Coaches are the easiest thing to move on to from.
How much is Jeffrey Lurie's son a factor in this?
Not much. I mean, he's preparing him for taking over the organization. So, I mean, he's been involved in a while. You know, just in more of an observation role, because he's not going to be here forever, and obviously he's got a succession plan, and that succession plan is his son. So, I mean, he's trying to teach him everything he can while he can.
There is a thought process, whether right or wrong, that he's the analytics guru. He's the one who's pushing all the analytics on everything. Any truth to that?
Well, he and Alec are very close. Alec Hallaby, the assistant GM. That's where that comes from. Similar, you know, age-wise. But Alec is much more than analytics. So, no, I don't think it boils down to that. What does that even mean to people? That's another one that kills me. What's the analytics boys? What are you saying by that? I'm not picking on you. I'm asking everybody, chat, whatever. What do you mean by that? Like, what does that mean to you? I hate that term. I've said that to Alec, and I've said that to analytics people. Why do you even have that term? It's such a bullshit term. You know, I say use data science, dress it up, rebrand it, because you got all these people that say, "Oh, they're analytics this, analytics that."
Generally, I mean, anybody who's like. Generally, analytics are not a bad thing. I mean, you know, I get it's different in sports, but generally, every big business in the world,
would information be a bad thing?
Everything in the world that you know has achieved great success in some way or another uses data and analytics. I mean,
why would more information be a bad thing in any decision-making process? So I don't even know what that means, but yeah,
is there a fine line there though? You know, like where it's sports. So is there a human element maybe you can't factor in? Is going too deep down the analytics road, you know, negative or data science, whatever you want to call it, you know, is that a part of it?
Well, if you're making your decisions solely based on.
Do you think the Eagles have gone that way?
No. Where's the evidence of that?
I'm just asking the question. I mean, they do run a very first offense.
You can say, because NBC, one of them does, you know, 4th and 2, analytics says like it's a person, go for it. Nick kind of chuckles at that. It's like, you know, if you look over the season for the Eagles, they're not beholden to what analytics tells them to do. But they have utilized it better than most, and they've been on the ground floor of hiring people who give the information. Vic is hilarious. He's like, yeah, give me the information. I'll use what I want.
Yeah. What do you say? I make my own analytics. I don't tell anybody what they are.
He gets them and he uses what he wants, and he uses what he finds valuable. But there is a human element to sports that frustrates the numbers people, because there are some numbers people that believe it should be that way. And I think baseball, in a lot of ways, they've ruined sports, you know, baseball and basketball specifically. Don't know as much about hockey, but football is not as statistical a sport from a black and white perspective, because you got 11 people working in concert, so it's tough to boil things down to one number. But no, they're not like I hear they got a whole floor in that building for analytics. I hear that like a bunch of times. I'm like, first of all, that building is really fucking small. They don't have a floor dedicated to anything. But yeah, it's another weird thing that catches on and people just latch on to it.
John, all right. So I got a different, in another realm here, similar discussion, different part of it. Earlier in the year, you described Jalen Hurts as aloof with his teammates, and that was obviously something that people latched onto a little bit. And you've heard some other things as well from other guys, other beat reporters who have talked similarly about Jalen Hurts. Do you think that is a factor in this OC search? That he maybe comes off as
well, first of all, I didn't call him aloof. I said people think he's aloof, and some of his teammates think he's aloof. So I want to make that
or not. I mean, whatever. Yeah.
Well, I think it's. I try to be as clear. I try to be as clear as possible.
Do you think he's aloof?
Well, I don't. I mean, I don't have a personal relationship with him. So what? I mean.
Okay, well, that's fine then. It doesn't matter whether you think he is or not. Do you think that it's impacting the coaching search at all? Like, do you think a coordinator looks at that and says, "No, no"?
No, I think more his style of play impacts. No, I don't think his personality. Most of the people they're interviewing don't even know him. I mean, if you're a coach, if you're even a modicum of a coach, you're not going to go in with modicum of a good coach. And most people get to this position to where they're getting interviews. They're pretty good coaches. They're not going to go into a process predefining certain players. You're going to give everybody an opportunity and try to develop relationship with everybody, because connection, you were talking about Howie, talking about Nick, it's a big part of it. So you're not going to go in with that predisposed mindset. Now, if you're talking about the style of play, not a lot of people want to play the way the Eagles play. That certainly has an impact. And I don't think it's fun for offensive coaches to run this style of offense. That's part of it. When you have options, which some of the high-profile candidates do. And then for guys who don't have options, you'll find a good coach. Even if it comes down to a bunch of guys who don't have options, you'll find a good. Yep. And you might even find a better coach.
Maybe. We will see what happens, John, with the offense and the search. Yes, Brian Daboll would rather coach the Tennessee Titans than the Philadelphia Eagles offense. I find that to be pretty funny. All right, John. Will the offensive philosophy change this year? Risk averse, run the ball, however you want to describe the Eagles offense in your mind. Do you think the philosophy will change this year?
To be determined. They've tried to change it every year. They've tried to evolve it every year, and then it generally scales back to where it scales back to. They're trying. They don't go into a season and say, again, that what the stuff that they do in the spring and the summer often does not look like the finished product, which we talk about it every day. Well, they're doing this, they're doing that. And then, the most notable example of that was the first 4 games of the Kellen Moore era, where they were trying to be different. And it didn't work. And then they scaled it back. And then if you go back to the first 7 games of the Nick Sirianni era, he was trying to run his preferred offense. 11 personnel, throwing the football, more impact on that part of it than the risk-averse running. Let's just try to get to the finish line type of mindset. So you've had these little pockets where it's been very evident and both pockets have not been successful. They were 2-5 before they shifted in his first season, 2-2 before they shifted in 2024. But remember that 2-2 and 20. Remember the expectations were much larger than 2021 when nobody thought they were going to be a playoff team and they were more thought of being as a rebuilding team. So the expectations were much different. But they will try to evolve the offense, no matter who the coordinator is. They will try. Will they accomplish it? That's a different conversation.
That's it. Yeah, we will find. We will find out if that's the case, Johnny Mac. I don't see. This is where I think that the OC thing is bigger with this stuff than it is with the other stuff. I mean, you're right that the other stuff is a factor, but
can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Does and not just to you. I'll open it up for everybody. Does it resonate at all that there were 10 head coaching openings, and I think there were more OC openings. I think it was 13. It might have been 15 at one point in a 32-team league. Does that resonate to anybody that maybe you put a little bit too much emphasis on coaching than the talent and the personnel when you have this kind of turnover? And this year is far more than usual. So this is, I don't ever recall 10 head coaching openings, but nearly half the league is looking for offensive coordinators right now. All those guys who lost their job, forget about Kevin Patullo, all those other guys who aren't being brought back, were they all shitty football coaches, or are they just victims of the...
Well, are they all victims? Do you think they're all victims?
Victims of the churn, the natural churn of the NFL. Like, think about the hot candidates, said everybody. Well, why won't Mike McDaniel? Mike McDaniel got fired as the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. Is it fair? I don't know. He was okay. Wasn't great. Maybe it was fair. I'm not saying it wasn't. Brian Daboll, like I said, he was an abject disaster as the head coach.
How many of those guys, though, are victims of, all the other things that you talk about with football, how the head coaching position is so much bigger than people think?
Well, that part of it's true, but then
maybe he would be good, as an OC.
But then you go down to the OC level. It's the same thing, and they don't have they have the ability to. So Zach Robinson's out in Atlanta, and he's the answer in the same fucking division in Tampa Bay. It's a weird thing where
maybe it shows you how valuable the good offensive minds really are, because there's not that many of them. I mean, Kyle Shanahan, like, imagine Kyle Shanahan if he, in a perfect world, he didn't want to be a head coach, and he had a great, game manager, head coach who did all the things he doesn't do well. Imagine how good that offense would be.
Well, I think you saw it because of attrition, and Kyle was, just how bad it can get without players. Like Kyle's great. Kyle's the big Fangio of offense in my mind. As far as being the top guy, number one. And I don't think number two is particularly close, because I don't think McVay is close to Kyle. And he still has games where they put up 6 points.
Yeah.
Now there's usually a lot of context to that, but the best guy, and same thing with Vic. Vic has games has had games where, not often, luckily for Eagles fans, but in his history, he's had games where it ain't good. you're at the mercy of the players on the field. And that's not to say they can't make a difference or they don't make a difference, but I do think the turnovers should emphasize, and to your point, and you're right, not a lot of GM openings in a historic season for head coaching openings. Why is that? The easiest thing to change is the coaches. Certainly more than the players, but even more than the GMs from the perspective of the owners. Now, everybody knows. I mean, the players. You can't win without players. You're gonna have the best coaching staff in the history of football. You could have that game management spectacular guy helping with Kyle Shanahan running the offense and Vic Fangio running the defense, and you still wouldn't win.
Which is ironic because if you the way you lay it out would be, it should be the GMs where there's a carousel. Because if all these coaches are getting fired, and you're of the opinion, which I don't know if I disagree with. I mean, I think there's maybe some fluctuation in how much stock you put in each thing, but none of them are winning because none of them have players everywhere.
Well, it's easier, but it's also
so we get better players to see what the coach can do.
But they're also the ones that are the face of things, the head coaches. So it's easier to hide the GM than it is to hide the coaches. Like I maintain a bunch of guys don't want to fire coaches. They feel they have to because nobody's talking about, and I don't know Buffalo Sports Radio, but they're not really talking about Brandon Beane. They're talking about Sean McDermott every fucking day. Every day. That's the difference. The coaches are the public base of the franchise, along with the quarterback. The GM is not. The GM can hide. Howie talks how many times a year?
Twice, 3 times, 4 times.
About four or 5 times.
Like
that's
draft.
it.
Yeah, pre-draft.
We might for Nick's got to talk 3 times a week, 4 times a week. You count games at times.
That's funny. He says a whole lot of nothing in all this.
but
the art of that, hasn't he?
The difference between the public perception of the coaches and GM is great. So the feel the need is that, let's be honest, if all you hear on sports talk radio is the coach sucks, the coach sucks, the coach sucks, the GM can kind of skate underneath that.
All right, so I understand your point. How much can a coach be great or bad in your opinion? Because I'm not speaking for everybody. I mean, I'm just the perception. I think when people listen to you talk about coaches, the perception on your thoughts on Kevin Petula all year is that you don't put any stock in coaching, and that's not true because I talk to you every day, so I know that's not true. But the perception is John doesn't put enough stock on coaching. Coaching does matter. How much does it matter to you? How much can it range from you do have good coaching and you do have bad coaching, players aside? There is a scale for coaching. How much does that apply and what does that look like to you?
Well, I say it all the time, but you can't control people's perceptions. Like I would argue that, and I have argued that fans put way too much emphasis on coaching. It does matter. I've never said it doesn't matter. And you've heard it. You don't even have to listen to me. You can listen to great coaches. Your job as a coach is to get every single player a little bit better than where they would get on their own. A little bit better. You can't turn Dan Orlovsky into Josh Allen. I don't know why I'm picking on Dan. I'm trying to think of a backup quarterback.
Orlovsky catching some strays here.
You can't turn.
Who's the dude they put in a couple years ago when they tanked?
Who?
Sudfeld. There you go.
Oh, Nate.
Yeah.
The unstoppable Nate Sudfeld. Yeah. All right. Let's use Nate. You can't turn Nate Sudfeld into Jalen Hurts. You can't turn Tanner McKee into Jalen Hurts, and that's you can't. But you can get Tanner McKee a little bit better, and I think you can get these players a little bit better than where they would go on their own, and that's the goal of every coach. But you can't win without talent. The best coaches. Kyle Shanahan, too much attrition, 6 points. Vic Fangio. I don't know how long I've been preaching Vic Fangio as the best defensive coordinator in football, but it's been well over a decade.
Well, you're right about that, but like this is where I think the Eagles' offense breaks people. Me included at times, because I agree with what you're saying, and yeah, maybe the offense isn't as talented as we thought. But here's what I know: they're not less talented than a lot of other teams in the league. I mean, maybe they're worse from what they were at their peak, but for the offense to do what it did this year is, and I mean, I'll use a phrase that Johnny Mack uses, an abject disaster.
Well, I do think the offense was not good. I don't know why anybody would think I would say it was good.
Well, that's what I mean. It's not like we gave the offensive coaches, for lack of a better comparison, a Nate Sudfeld on offense, or
well, I think everybody's everybody because
on the outside or anything like that.
because Kevin's the scapegoat. Everybody wants, and that's the thing that changed.
I'm not even talking about Kevin here. I'm more talking about like Nick, and I think a lot on Jalen, but
well, again,
would we be saying the offense has declined if they played ball a different way?
Everybody except, I think it's interesting, and at the end of the season, I think everybody except I think everybody. Early in the season, there were two players I booked that I thought were getting better, and that was Jalen and Devontae. And even Dallas Goedert at some point. Dallas Goedert had a career year from a obviously a receiving perspective, and certainly in a touchdown red zone perspective, had a great season, but he regressed badly as a blocker, which is more important to me for the Eagles offense. Regressed badly. By the end of the season, I think they were 0 for 11. And from the standpoint of why I don't think people put enough on the players, because I would say the same thing when people are giving Vic credit or Kellen credit for winning the Super Bowl. I think the players deserve more credit for winning the Super Bowl and performing at such a high level. I think it works both ways. I never waver from that.
Right.
Because every coach has told me that. Every good coach has told me that. Well, including most recently Vic a couple weeks ago.
Do you think the offensive coaches, though, have done the definition that you just gave?
No, the players have descended. The question is, why have they descended? That's the question. Is it because of the coaches, or is it because of the players themselves? And sometimes it could be injury.
Of offense, John. That's
well, clearly, if you boil it down to individual players, clearly the descent of Landon Dickerson and Cam Jurgens was injury related. Clearly. And that's why I say take Kevin Patullo out of it, because I think people would but most Eagles fans would bite to the death that Jeff Stoutland's the best offensive line coach. And why wouldn't you want Jeff Stoutland if you're a new head coach and all that? Because they've been conditioned to believe, and he is one of the best offensive line coaches of all time. Did he turn into a bad coach this year? I mean, I don't get to work with him every day, but he seems like the same guy. Yet all his players went in a negative direction. All of them, including the best, which was Jordan Mailata.
Well, can't we attribute that to how much they relied on the running game the year prior, which you said, and when it was
Oh
happening,
yeah, there's a lot of reasons
the
why.
shelf life of this is not that long.
But that's why I'm using Jeff Stoutland, because everybody likes Jeff and everybody knows how good Jeff is, and nobody's going to debate that, and they shouldn't. Yet they decrease badly for other reasons, injuries. Yes, the just the wear and tear of playing 21 games at the style of football they played. Lane's not there for half the season. There's a lot of reasons why. None of it has to do with coaching. Same thing with Saquon. Well, did Kevin Patullo turn Saquon Barkley into a below average NFL running back? Where's Jamal Singleton, another good assistant coach? Where's he involved in this?
How about the receivers and that part of the offense?
Well, the receivers again, like Aaron's been here for the entire time. Aaron goes back to Doug Peterson. He was here Doug's last season and was held over. So he's been here for a long time. He's been here. That's why it's a better exercise to look at the position coaches, because he's had all this tremendous success, and all of a sudden AJ gets worse and Devontae certainly gets worse in the second half of the season, and Jahan Dotson's just never involved. So I don't
have to grade him. I mean, they don't use anybody past the top two options. I mean, I could sit here and say Aaron Moorhead's been here since 2020 or whenever it was. They haven't developed any receivers since then. Devontae Smith was a finished.
Well, yeah, the luxury is that when you have great players, you don't have to do much. But all of a sudden, when those great players aren't playing at the same level,
no other receiver has emerged. I don't think that's Aaron Moorhead's fault, though. They don't pass the ball to other receivers. Jahan Dotson gets 100 yards a year.
Now, Jason Michael's been here the entire time with Dallas Goedert, and he was one of the best blocking tight ends in football. And this year, he wasn't. I mean, when you go 0 for 11, and I don't even think a lot of people understand like the average NFL practice. Like, the position coaches are the guys who work with their guys the most, obviously, and that run the meetings and do all that. And they're about getting the guys up to speed when it comes to technique and fundamentals, which is, the most, in a lot of ways, the most important part of all, because you can't do all the other stuff without proper technique and fundamental, which bores people. But, that's where, and you go 0 for 11 on offense, you can make an argument, and people can parse it any way they want. Well, Dallas is better because he had touchdowns. Well, all right. What's more important to the Eagles, running the football or a couple nice shovel passes in the red zone?
Yeah, clearly running the football, because they stunk this year without it.
So I would argue they want 0 for 10 because Tyler wasn't a starter, so I got to put him off to the side. And I think he was average, but he's average. But he certainly didn't decrease from a player standpoint as a backup to a starter, but he certainly decreased from when they got from Mekhi Becton the year prior. So, I mean, people want the bow. They want it bow. They want to tie it up in a pretty bow. Kevin Patullo's the problem. Let's remove the problem and fix the problem. I'm saying be careful to expect that that's going to fix the problem. What would fix the problem is a lot of these guys are still in their prime of their careers. Can you rehab the relationship to AJ Brown and get him more focused and get him back to being AJ Brown? Can Devontae Smith, say that was all right? You had an uncharacteristic 5-6 game run at the end of the season. Can he get back to being Devontae Smith? Yes. Can a full off season get landed? I saw him, his wife put that thing out where he's shopping at Lowe's or wherever, Home Depot. You know,
under the bone all year on that stupid account. I had one buddy reach out to me and said, "Yo, can you reach out to Landon Dickerson's wife and tell him to let my man rest when he's not playing football?"
You know, well, yeah, and now we're going to blame poor Landon's wife.
No, we're not blaming her, but
you got your fingerprints on it, fan base.
Hey, to barely move on the field, honey. Come on.
That's the point of, you know, people got it. You got a spouse, you got to deal with your spouse.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Can he get healthy? I don't know. He doesn't seem to know. Cam Jurgens, same thing. Landon Johnson, is he going to be back? I don't know. Hopefully he's healthy. Jordan Mailata, can he get back to what he was 2 years ago? He's still pretty good last year. You know, he's the one guy I don't worry about. This offense has got some question marks that aren't going to be answered by just changing the offense.
And I think the candidates know that, which is why I think they don't think it's a great job. I mean, I get your point earlier about all the other factors, but to me, that's the number one factor. I mean, here's the thing where I disagree. Well, not disagree, but how I view it. If this job was as enticing as people think it is, it would supersede all of those other variables.
Oh, right?
You'll make sacrifices, or you'll have give and take if you believe something is worth it. Well, I got to move to Philly, or I got to live in Philly. But man, look at that opportunity. I got to take that opportunity. I can't turn that down. You get what I'm saying with that? I don't think that perspective exists.
Well, I think anybody who thinks at this point, anybody who's spun that as everybody would want this job, I mean, they have to know they're wrong at this point. Like it's fine as an Eagles fan to think that. There's no doubt about that. I think there's a silver lining to it. But the best coaches, the hottest coaches in this, they don't want this job.
Well,
why it can be debated, but they don't want this job.
Correct. Here's a little off the radar one. Eagles have requested to interview Bears offensive coordinator Declan Doyle for their offensive position.
See, I like that.
Why would the Bears approve that request?
Why
would Declan Doyle want to coach under Nick Sirianni instead of under Ben Johnson with Caleb Williams?
That is the first time I've ever heard the name Declan Doyle in my life. I'm exaggerating.
That's funny. Well, you know, it's kind of going to get a similar thing as like, not to disrespect Clay Kubiak, who's the OC in 49ers, but, you know, they don't get as much credit because everybody knows their offensive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that obviously he would have play calling ability here. Now it's still considered a lateral move, so they need permission. So I don't know. That's up to Ben Johnson, and
I just don't understand, why would the Bears accept that? Like, oh yeah, you can poach our OC, and he didn't even get a promotion.
Well, you know, the same thing happened in Indy with Jim Bob Cooter. Now Nick has a better relationship with Shane Steichen, and Shane's going to call the plays. He knows he's going to call the plays. Believe it or not, because it is a big fraternity, a lot of these guys want their guys to reach their goals. And Ben's never given up play calling.
Yeah.
So I mean, he comes across, and I don't know Ben Johnson from Adam, but he comes across as a bit of a dick. So it wouldn't surprise me if he did not give permission. But if he's not, and I have that wrong, you could be like Shane and say, yeah, I want my guy to further his career.
Yeah, but that's the thing. This is a risky job to further your career in. I mean, what's a better, if you're a young guy like a Declan Doyle, you know,
but for a young guy like Declan Doyle, any job is a great job.
I know, but are you better served in the long run to sit and learn and under Ben Johnson than coming to the Eagles, living in a boom and bust environment with Nick Sirianni, who, for whether it's right or wrong, is not perceived as the offensive mind that Ben Johnson is? You know, I don't know. I think it makes sense.
I mean, I think anybody with any confidence in themselves is going to take the job, and if not, guess what?
Yeah,
You
I don't know
know,
about that.
you go right back to Ben Johnson.
If you take the first opportunity that jumps every time, I mean, you're not always going to take the right opportunity. I mean, look, remember Ben Johnson before he got the Bears job? Everybody thought he was a conceited asshole because he said he wanted 15 or 16 million dollars.
Well, he did.
Yeah, he did. But look, it turned out to be good for him. He stayed another year in Detroit, got the job that he wanted, or got the job that ultimately fit him the best, and now he was in the playoffs.
Well, I don't know. I mean, think about where Carolina would be. Carolina made the playoffs. You know, you never know. I don't.
It still worked out for Ben, is my point.
But there's a big difference between Ben Johnson at the height of his want to Declan Doyle, who I joked that nobody knows him. There was a big freaking difference, and
Declan Doyle.
you're 30 years old. Like I just pulled up his Wikipedia page. They don't even know how old he is. They have age 29 to 30. They don't have his official birthday. That the Eagles are, in this case, for somebody like that, the Eagles would be too good an opportunity to give up. However, how do you sell Declan Doyle to this fan base if you just went through? He's got no experience calling plays. That to me is the bigger issue. This is what you just went through, a guy who's never done it before. And you could say, well, maybe osmosis turns him into Ben Johnson, but generally that doesn't happen. He also worked with Sean Payton in New Orleans and Denver.
Man, you got it. Like you used to say, you have a cup of coffee with some of these guys, and you're the.
Oh yeah, well that's how it works. Yeah, that's why it's kind of silly, but I don't have. I like going out of the box more than groupthink. I will say that. So, but we're all operating in the dark if we're being honest with these guys. I can't tell you Declan Doyle's a good coach or he's going to be a good coach. I do like when people think for themselves. And if you want to talk to the guy and you get an opportunity to talk to the guy and he wows you, I know what Brian Daboll is. There's it's a limited upside. It's a big enough history to know what he is.
He wasn't bad as an OC though in the NFL. Like you said, it's not everybody's cut out for the head coaching job, man. It's a tough job. It's a way different job than being.
Well, he again, to the point of talent, he was pretty good as the offensive coordinator in Buffalo.
That's what I mean. Like he was pretty good.
He's Josh Allen, as opposed to when he was the offensive coordinator in Kansas City and they went 2-14, or as the offensive coordinator in Cleveland. Or he was the offensive coordinator in Miami. I mean, he's got a lot of failures.
he might need to give Josh Allen a cut of all these jobs he's getting.
I joked that Adam Gase, man, he should still be paying Peyton Manning just constant. What do they call it? Residuals and Hollywood. I mean, my God, Adam Gase was one of the worst coaches I've ever seen in my life. But he was the 600-point offensive coordinator because Peyton Manning was running the show.
Yeah. Peyton Manning threw for 5,000 yards like it was nothing.
That is one where because I get a lot of pushback on I don't value coaches. I get a lot of pushback. Man, I mean, how do people not recognize it? Like Brian Daboll's great with Josh Allen, and he's not good with everybody else. Is it that hard of an equation to figure out?
It's not. That's good stuff. Peyton Manning was your guy, wasn't he? Was he your favorite?
I always say he's the most consistent quarterback of all time. Consistently great quarterback of all time, from week to week consistency. That's how I describe. I always describe Aaron as at his height, nobody played the position better than Aaron Rodgers at his height. Peyton was from week to week consistency. You know what you're going to get from week to week. Peyton Manning was the best.
Good stuff. All right, let's get to some super chats here this morning, Johnny Mac. Thanks, everybody, for being here. We'll have some draft talk to close out the show a little bit. Also, some free agency talk. Just get an idea on that stuff coming up. All right, got to get this OC done first. We will see. Not a good job, everybody, or apparently that's what it seems like. Here's Nick. Run it back with KP.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Might be here, though.
Yeah, might be. Yeah, because they fucking, guy's career. He's never going to get an OC job again. Probably. That would be my guess. Here's Kimberly. I see Monken as head coach of the Raiders. Mendoza, Bowers, and Genty hasn't signed with New York yet. I want Charlie Weiss for OC. Has only play called in college, but Monken is the perfect example of that. New blood is good.
Yeah, sometimes it is. Sometimes it isn't. I do. We just talked about with Declan Doyle. I mean, yeah, I like thinking outside the box as opposed to going along, but it's no guarantee, and nothing's a guarantee. It's going to be tough in Philadelphia to spin a guy with no experience, or little experience, or just college experience. But at the end of the day, I always advocate to the Eagles, why do you give a shit? If you like the guy, hire him. But I first of all, whomever they hire, whether it's Matt Nagy, who's been a former head coach and has 15 years with Andy Reid, or Declan Doyle, they might get it right. They might get it wrong. I'm not going to lie to you and say, oh, this guy's good, this guy's bad. That's why you interview, and that's why you try to take the long process. And I like that better than just recruiting Mike McDaniel and saying, I'm going to give Mike McDaniel this and that, and I'm going to make him the highest paid offensive coordinator just because he's hot. I don't like that process.
Who are they interviewing in New York right now for the OC? If Monken's not hired, which he's obviously not, I wonder if Charlie Weiss would be an option for them. He coached Dart in college.
I still think Monken's going to end up there.
Me too. Me too.
So I don't, John's been around the league for a long time. He's got a big Rolodex, as they say. But Monken, I still think is going to end up there.
All right, let's go to Nick. What's up, Nick? John's like a break dancer. He loves to spin it. LOL. I don't even know. He sent this at 10 minutes into the show, so I don't know what we were talking about.
Oh, I was talking about, I don't think it's the worst case that the Eagles didn't get the hot guys.
Oh, yeah.
I knew I'd get some of those people because I don't. I think, like,
no, I get your philosophy with that. I mean, you hire everybody, all the hot names, and the hot names are, what's the hit rate on the hot names every single year?
Yeah, I just gave you two examples. The Eagles wanted Adam Gase. Okay.
I just think it more highlights the bigger problems in Philly. It doesn't mean that you're not. It doesn't mean I think you're right about it's good to open it up.
Oh no, I think it's a silver lining. By all means, if the Eagles could have gotten, I don't think Mike McDaniel was ever in the mix, even though they may have wanted him. But I think they would have wanted Brian Daboll. I think that was their guy. So by no means am I trying to tell you that they didn't want Brian Daboll. I just don't think that's a home run. I think he's just a guy, a jag.
Here's Pump. What's up, Pump? Fellas, no chance the guy who made Patrick Mahomes look pedestrian is the guy for limited Hurts. May the football God help. One thing I love about Pump John, he's always got a spin. Like in some way,
I think I'm with Pumper. I think it's mainly shtick, but there are so many people who talk with such conviction about things they have no information on. It's amazing to me. It's
Isn't that
amazing.
life though? I mean, something breaks out in the world,
Well, yeah, it is.
and everybody's a foreign
It's
policy
amazing.
expert.
Twitter, the University of Twitter, foreign policy.
Exactly, foreign policy. This, the elections.
No, it is. But
whatever's going on, everybody's.
And I say the same thing with that. They speak with such conviction of, like, it's Matt Nagy's fault. Did you see what went on, Pumper, in Kansas City this year?
Wasn't Matt Nagy.
What I mean,
by the way, he was still playing pretty well. I mean, not obviously couldn't overcome it all, but
and obviously because Matt has been there, left, gone back, he's had tremendous success as well. He's won Super Bowls, so he's a good coach those years. He's a bad coach now. Like, where does this conviction come from? Smart people know what they don't know.
All right, Pump. Thanks for the super, brother. Appreciate your support as always. John says, bottom 10 passing game and predictability incoming. Then there will be nothing new.
With who? I mean, again, but who do you want and what do you think is going to happen? Do you want Declan Doyle? Do you want Charlie Weiss? I forget who had that comment. Like, what do you think? Why do you want Charlie Weiss? Why? Like, give me the case. Why is he better than Declan Doyle? Because you saw a couple Ole Miss games. How much was Lane Kiffin involved in? I don't know.
Yeah, Lane Kiffin was a big part of that. Here's John. John again, not John McMullen, John commenter. Jalen can only run a college offenses. Who the F wants to coach that in the NFL? The Jalen offense has tore the team apart physically and mentally.
Well, I think there's a heck of a lot of NFL offenses that look more like college offenses now than there used to be. That is a bigger problem involved with practice time, ability to work with the players, about some of the off the field, the CBA stuff. That is a far more wide-reaching problems, and most of the innovative step comes from college. So I wouldn't immediately criticize those guys because they tend to steal from college, who tend to steal from high school. Again, innovation trickles up in the football industry.
Yeah,
I wouldn't completely dismiss the college guys.
Which is a weird thing, trickle up, but it is that way for sure. I guess it makes sense because the young players ultimately become the players in the league.
Exactly. Yeah. And you don't want to break down these college quarterbacks specifically coming in. You don't want to break them down and teach because it's too difficult. So too many people, in my estimation, are just saying this is what he can do. So let's build an offense around what he can do.
Yeah. Menifee, thanks, brother. Appreciate it. Besides experience, what are they looking for in the OC? It's a good question.
Well, if they hire Charlie Weiss or Declan Doyle, they're not even looking for an experience. Yeah, I would love to tell you what they're looking for. Generally, all I can tell you is what generally happens in these searches. And because they had an inexperienced play caller, it's the pendulum theory. Generally, you swing back to an experienced play caller. And that was certainly the mindset when you talk about Brian Daboll or you talk about even Mike McDaniel as your two top targets. If that's the case, well, they were leaning towards experience. Now that they haven't gotten those guys, maybe they're going to recalibrate and maybe they're just going to go with somebody who impresses them for whatever reason. Maybe it's their mindset, their philosophy, their take on offensive football, or maybe it is play calling experience. I would love to tell you. They don't tell me. So I don't know what the hell they're looking for other than somebody who can get this offense going in the right direction.
Let's see what they can do. Here's Charles again. Charles, thanks for the supers. I like their offense against Green Bay in 24. Got to be more patient. Give Hurts a chance to develop. Well, I mean, Charles, with all due respect.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not,
he's not a young quarterback anymore.
He's a veteran.
I mean, he's started, I don't know, we're at almost 100 games if you count the playoffs in the NFL. Let's see, is 82, 92 games he started in the NFL. 92 games.
It's a lot of games.
And by the way, he has developed a lot from where he was in 2021. So I don't agree with the mindset that he hasn't progressed or developed. And B, he ain't some young kid with this large room for development at this point. Now it's about getting incrementally better, But as you've seen with some of these guys who play late in their careers, look, Matthew Stafford's going to win the MVP. Won the Pro Football Writers MVP yesterday. He's going to win the actual MVP, I think, before the Super Bowl, they'll announce it. And reminder, that's a regular season award. So don't talk to me about the playoffs. It's a regular season award. He's not the same as he was physically in Detroit, but the processing and all of that has gotten better and better and better. Same thing happened to Tom as he played late in his career. So you can still get better, but you're not going to get better from a physical standpoint. So it's got to be, and you've seen it already with Jalen, whomever's responsible. Jalen doesn't want to run. If the coaching staff doesn't want him, whatever, he can get better, but it's going to be incremental at this stage, not some huge leap. He's got 92 NFL starts. By the way, high-level NFL starts with tremendous success as well.
Here's Dice. What's up, Dice? The idea of a big-name OC is a fallacy. Guys need a chance before they get the big-name hiring because of a name just makes morons feel safer.
Well, he could have couched it a little nicer, but yeah, he's right. I mean, yeah, if everybody wants to go really reflect on their thoughts about this search, I mean, really forget about me. Like, why do you like the person you like? Why do you think you like the person you like? It's just because of information you've been handed that's not vetted from others. Now there might be some film wonks out there who legitimately break down film and might have more of a foundation on why they like a particular play caller or play design or play concept. But that's few and far between. And even those people don't tend to take into account the personnel of what they're working with when they're looking at the film, or what situation that particular team is working with while they're watching that film. So it could have been couched nicer, but yeah, I mean, I think if everybody's honest with themselves, if we can have an honesty day, they will admit that, they like a certain guy because they were told to like a certain guy.
Here's Trucker Jay. What's up, Trucker? I'm hearing a lot of blame lying on Jalen's shoulders. Flip, Steichen, and Nick. Do you think Nick still has this amount of success in Indy?
Same amount of success he had here in Indy? No. Do I think Shane has the same amount of success as Nick? No. So flip it both ways.
I mean, that's an impossible thing to gauge. I mean, Here's Eaglevania. Thank you, Zander and John, for coming to work. I'm going to enjoy the journey. The OC will be better because the players will be. Go Birds.
I agree with that. I think the urgency of shitty years will make the Eagles offense better next year. Presuming Landon is better physically, Cam is better physically.
I feel like you didn't think the offense was as bad as most thought it was this year.
Well, no, I don't think. Well, by no means was it one of the NFL's worst. I think it was bad from what it should have been. So it depends, again, if you want to couch it. I think it underachieved, but I think it underachieved more because of the players not performing up to their typical demonstrated performance than any of the coaching. I think that was the bigger issue. And I think most of those players will have somewhat of a bounce back. Saquon as well. I don't think he's going to get back to being 2024 Saquon, but I think he's going to be better than he was last year. And part of it is not because of the new coaches. Part of it is because he knows he had a shitty year. And Landon knows he had a shitty year. And Cam knows he had a shitty year. And they're going to be better. And they're going to have
to me, it seems far-fetched to expect the O-line to really get better at this point. Am I off base? I mean, just
the only way it can't get better is if they're completely shot physically, which is possible.
It's possible, right? Yeah.
It's possible, but I don't think that's the case.
But you're really relying on just those two interior guys. I mean, Mailata's not an.
You need Lane back.
Lane is, I mean, but he's not getting any younger, John. You know what I mean? Like, even if he's back, how many games does he play? You know,
that's fair. But if he comes
really
back,
the only spot to improve is the interior.
I mean, I do think
we're going to make a move to put Jurgens or Dickerson on the bench. I mean, that's not happening. Or trade them. That's not happening. So you're just hoping at this point that they return.
Well, you're assuming they get back physically, back to a better position physically.
You're hoping. That's hope.
No, because I think not the natural at their age, unless they're completely shot, you know, and in Cam specifically, because I think Landon's the bigger issue than Cam, because Cam specifically is one issue for the most part. He also hurt his knee this year, but it's one issue, whereas Landon's everything, basically.
Yeah.
So I think Cam Jurgens will be better physically next season, and therefore will be a better player. I also think the Eagles might draft a Caden Proctor or somebody like that, and maybe he's the starting guard instead of Tyler Steen and waiting to kick him out for Lane Johnson. And all of a sudden, if you do that and Lane Johnson comes back for one more year, whether he plays 10 games or 12 games, whatever.
I don't get how that's not hope. I mean, you're hoping Cam Jurgens is back. There's no way to know. I mean, there's no.
Well, that's like saying anybody who tears his ACL or has any injury is never going to make it back. History says they're going to make it back.
There's data that you can use on whether to tell, but Cam didn't tear an ACL. I mean, Cam got back.
Well, I'm saying any injury anywhere in the NFL.
Yeah,
because everybody has them.
But
Nobody's sitting out in Denver right now and saying, well, I'm hoping Bo Nix gets healthy. No, they assume he's going to be back and he's going to rehab, and at some point he's going to be back.
Yeah, but
injuries are part of life in the NFL.
Yeah, I know, but there is also a level of hope that is involved with every injury.
Well, that if you want to term it hope, because you seem to want to term it hope, then everybody's hoping every year about everybody who gets injured. You know, you're hoping when Lane Johnson had reconstructive ankle surgery, you're hoping he comes back. Well, he did come back. Landon Dickerson has had a million injuries.
Yeah, when you draft him in the second round, you're hoping the injuries aren't a big factor, but it's still hope.
They've also gotten 3 Pro Bowls out of the guy. Legitimate Pro Bowls.
I'm not saying that Landon wasn't a good pick. I'm just saying at this point, to look at them and think they're going to be better than they were last year is hope, in my opinion. And I use that word because,
in my opinion, it's
said hope isn't a strategy. That's why I use that word.
Well, yeah, but because you want to frame it in a certain way. This is business as usual for an NFL team. Guys get hurt, they rehab, and they come back. Does it mean they're going to be at the same level all the time? No. But that's part that then you're saying every team is hoping. because every team has injuries and guys got to rehab and come back. And
there's certain injuries that happen
generally
a lot more than others. Or the science or whatever has improved enough to. I mean, ACLs used to be a year thing; they're a 9-year thing. They happen all the time. I mean, it feels like every weekend someone goes down with an ACL injury.
There are guys.
A back surgery is not as common. A back surgery is more complex. I mean, ask anybody who's had back surgery. I had my guy in the chat, Philly Don, who's had multiple. He reached out to me last summer and said, "Zander, I'm worried about Cam Jurgens. I've had back, and I know I'm not the same, but people who deal with backs deal with them their whole life. Never get them right. It's impossible. Hard. That's all I'm saying. You know, I'm not saying
a lot of NFL players have had back surgery and come back from it.
Not as many as an ACL. I mean,
well, there's far more ACL injuries, but
it's a more hopeful thing.
I know. Sharif Floyd, Philly kid, had tore his, and they fucked up a surgery. I mean, there's always potential rotten injuries.
Okay, you're trying to make the point. Is a back surgery not different than a knee surgery or an ankle surgery?
Everything. An ankle surgery is different from a back surgery. A back surgery is different from an elbow surgery.
Yeah, so do probabilities change based on what's injured?
A couple years ago, that you have this mindset, it seems, that a back injury is not capable of coming back.
No, that's not my mindset. It's that the chances are much lower with the back surgery.
I don't think there's any data that would point in that direction. In fact, excuse me, losing my voice. The most serious injury in the NFL for many years, almost a death sentence, was the patellar tendon. Now, Nakobe Dean is back playing at, some people think, a higher level than what he was a death sentence, basically, from the percentage wise. So, and the same thing with.
Well, why was Cam Jurgens so bad this year then?
Because sometimes it takes more than a year to get it back. And he wasn't that bad this year. He was bad compared to his demonstrated performance of the past. And he didn't live up to expectation. Similar to Landon Dickerson, the same way. Were they bad overall? No, Cam Jurgens, I'll look it up, was the 19th best center in the NFL. There's 32 starters. He was below average from the standpoint of that. Now, from the year prior, it was 14th. This year was 19th. Did he whiff on a bunch of blocks? I think that was more technique related than back related. Was he overrated a little bit to begin with? Yes. He wasn't a Pro Bowl player, but because he was on the Eagles' offensive line.
So do you think it would be wise for the Eagles to just assume that Cam Jurgens will eventually return to form?
Yeah, I think Cam Jurgens is going to be fine from a physical perspective. Fine. Absolutely fine. Absolutely fine.
Okay, we'll see. Here is Pump. With the top candidates going, I want a new young creative mind. I'm cool with Shieldhouse and even the new OC link, Declan Doyle. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's the same thing. It works both ways. It's like, Pump, what do you know about Shieldhouse? What do you know about Declan Doyle? Tell me about them. I mean, why? They might be great. The Eagles interviewed Shieldhouse last time because he had a background with Matt Campbell, who's good friends with Nick Sirianni. Declan Doyle, why? Maybe he's great. But I think it'll be very hard for the Eagles to go in that direction after making such a big deal about the inexperience of Kevin Patullo to go with another inexperienced guy. But I also would applaud them if they said, you know what, fuck that. I like this guy. I'd rather have conviction than, I need experience because this guy was inexperienced, or I need this because this guy was this. I'd rather just have conviction and say, this guy's a good coach. Let me hire this guy.
Doesn't seem like anybody's got conviction in anybody. Hence why there's 13 freaking offensive coordinators this year. Papa Smurf, Brian Johnson 2.0 perhaps?
Oh, oh, you mean bring him back? No. Brian Johnson would rather set himself on fire.
Yeah.
And said they can't bring him back after firing him.
I wonder if he's still buddies with Jalen.
I doubt it. You get too busy, but it's probably better the way it ended here. But I don't know. I'm sure they're friendly. I'm sure when they play each other, still in Washington.
Yeah, but they were like family friends. They grew up together. Like, I don't know. You remember how it was reported when they hired him?
Well, yeah, that's it. Brian was a lot older than Jalen, so that's like, no, yeah, that was kind of overblown. Brian, it's like Jalen's like 5 when he's in college. It's like you're not hanging around with 5-year-olds.
Yeah. Trucker Bean says, I know shelf life is a thing, but at their respective positions, AJ is a better player than Hurts. To lose AJ while Hurts is in limbo could be a mistake. Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, with AJ comes in, you gotta lobby him to say to get him back, and we'll see how it works. It starts with making that decision and saying, hey, Declan Doyle's going to change things, and see if AJ buys into it.
Would AJ have had a down year if we, if they passed the ball more consistently? That's the thing I don't know.
Well, I think the Eagles would have had it.
That's why
I think the Eagles would have had a down year.
Clogged sink, dude. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I keep. The running game struggling. They've never been able to move the ball consistently. Now they're bottled up a little bit, And if the only way to get out of it is to pull the shit out of the sink, open it up a little bit.
Well, I think if you want to shift in that direction, you probably got to make a change at quarterback. So I don't know if that's possible at this stage.
It's not. John says, well, since you looking stuff up, look up what opposing defenses say about Hurts and defend the coach some more. Let the people know. Connect them dots.
I don't know. Can you decipher what he's saying there?
I can't. Here's Pump. KP set the bar so low, J-Mac. Blame your buddy. The MF called 4 verts on a 4th and 11 and a freaking Madden play.
Well, I don't know. I'm not a video game guy, but 4 Birds has been around a hell of a lot longer than video games. So,
well, I'll tell you this. I mean, Jalen did have Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown on that play and single coverage on the outside. He decided to throw the Dallas Goedert, who was triple covered in the middle of the field.
Yeah, generally in quarters coverage, because I have talked about that play, as a lot of people have with the coaches. Generally, it's not a play you want to run against quarters.
Right.
However, again, one play scouting. What about the play before that? What about the play 2 plays before that?
Drop. I said that when it happened. That was a bigger drop than A.J. Brown's drop.
So you'd prefer to call a different play in that situation. Now, I asked Jalen, now who knows, right after the game, I asked him, because Nick said when he called timeout, they got a picture. And I asked him, did they come out in something different? And Jalen said no. I don't know if he's telling the truth, but he said no. So if they came out with quarters look, and they thought they were going to be in quarters, called the timeout and came out with the same play, that's certainly something to criticize them for. No problem with it. If they did shift up and expected something different, but the fact that the maddenization of football by these loser video game people, 4 Verts has been around in the NFL a hell of a lot longer than video games.
Yeah, I think the bigger thing there is, like, it's a tough play to call when you're in the red zone. I mean, it's a staple.
It's a staple of every single NFL offense. Watch Aaron Rodgers run it in Green Bay in the red zone. It worked a lot.
Yeah, but it is harder because of the condensed, obviously, space, and especially in a moment.
Well, it's not the space. If you're in a certain defense, in this case, you're in quarters, it's more difficult. obviously, if you're in man, it's not difficult at all. It's
Which
good.
makes it more difficult, though. No, I mean, you don't have the whole field to work with.
Well, I mean, you're counting on, again, the if you're at the 5-yard line, you're not running 4 verts. If you're at the 20-22, no, you have plenty of room. Guys are going to panic and be on. Part of it is the defense is going to be disciplined. Part of it is quarterback who can, throw the football on time. But it's not a bad play. It's a bad play. Every play, again, it's a staple in every single NFL offense. So, I mean, act like you even have any concept of what you're trying to accomplish with 4 verts and say, has every NFL team been doing it wrong for 50 years? Maybe.
Here's Pump. J-Mac, style of QB. What style of quarterback is Jalen Hurts? He hardly passes, and now he doesn't run. He's elite at rolling right and throwing the ball away.
What is your definition of style of quarterbacks? I don't know. Pumper doesn't like Jalen Hurts. Why do the Eagles win more than everybody else with the worst quarterback in the history of mankind? And there's a couple teams, Kansas City, Buffalo, most notably, but more than anybody else over the past 5 years since Jalen Hurts has been the starting quarterback in the NFC. Why? If he's that bad, playing the most important position, and I get it, well, the talent's so good around him. Give me a fucking break. To anybody who thinks this guy's a bad NFL quarterback hasn't been watching football.
The offense has been pretty objective.
Does he have limitations? Of course he has limitations. Everybody has limitations.
I mean, they consistently rank pretty low in passing game with I would argue great weapons. Now you might just think they're not that good. The reality of the situation is they're better than a lot of wideouts in the league. They don't.
Well, I've always said, because they didn't play up to their standard. I've always said AJ and Devontae are by far the best duo of wide receivers in Eagles history. I said that the first year they were together with Jody. The first year, I said, obviously there's no demonstrated performance, so everybody will go back to Macklin and Deshaun. This was the best duo of wide receivers in the history of Philadelphia Eagles. That still remains. They had down years, though, for different circumstances. Obviously, they're not thrilled with the way they run the offense. Jalen Hurts, I've said 1.5 million times, is not a high-volume thrower. You have to play a different style. That's one of the difficulties of being a head coach. Then you have to have people on the same page buying into the style, which they were able to do for a short period of time, and now it's become more difficult. But in the 10,000-foot view, anybody who thinks this guy has been a bad NFL quarterback is clueless. You don't win at the level they win at with a bad NFL quarterback.
Here's him, Bison. I wonder what would have happened if Nick would have called plays and gave KP more management duties as assistant or game management duties as assistant head coach. So the inverse.
Well, Nick doesn't want to call plays,
and OCs don't game manage.
They don't game manage. They've been a very good game management team. Nick doesn't want to call plays because he did it and he realized it was affecting the rest of his ability to be a head coach on game day and didn't like it. And I always gave him credit for that because most guys' egos are too big to say, hey, you know what? I'm fucking up this game management shit because I'm bogged down thinking about the next play call. It's easy to have your imprint on play calling when you're in charge of the game plan. And at that time, he was in charge of the game plan. Now, he was not with Kellen. In theory, he wasn't with Kevin. although he started to get more involved, and he won't be with the new guy. But he still has a large imprint on it. And I said, most of your work when it comes to play calling is done during the week, not during the game. The Cheesecake Factory menu is already done before the game even starts.
Here's Charles. KP was essentially run blocking and decent second halves away from vaulting himself into a head coach candidate. Fair?
Casey was.
I think that's fair.
Well, I'd say, yeah. I mean, he's a deep run in the playoffs from being a head coaching candidate. Yeah, I mean, that's just the nature of it. If you have success, if they win the Super Bowl, he's probably
versus the 49ers. Would Kevin Petula have stayed? And even if they lost in the divisional?
Depends. Depends how they lost in the divisional. If they would have won 2 games, he'd be back. Period. If they would have beat the 49ers and shown up against Chicago and scored like 6 points, I think they would have fired him or removed him. They haven't fired him. But if he wins 2 games and gets to the NFC Championship game, I think he's back. Which, by the way, tells you the fallacy of all of this. Because to Charles's point, yes, if they win the Super Bowl, he's an NFL coach right now. Well, they haven't played the Super Bowl, but you get my point. And the timing, depending on the timing, but because there's 10 open jobs, somebody's probably going to be patient because they're not going to get the guy they want. So that's what happened with Kellen. Sometimes the timing plays into it. So you have to have somebody who's in that position to wait for the Super Bowl. But because there's so many openings, yeah, if they would have won the Super Bowl, he probably would be a head coach. And now everybody, now he's out of a job. That's the fallacy of the NFL. It's a whole league talks about process over results, and then they hire on results over process. But again, it's the owners generally. Here's
Too Nice. Wouldn't mind O-line in the first and second round. Yeah, I agree. I think they're going to get back to that.
Yeah, they have to. They have to. That sir, you can't do. I don't think they're going to carpet bomb it. Take offensive line. But I would be stunned.
They have enough opening from the offensive line to do that.
I would be stunned if they didn't take an offensive lineman on day 1 or day 2. I would be stunned.
Me too. All right, good stuff there. So, John, what's next then for this team? We got a couple minutes left on the show today. Still interviewing candidates. How close do you think we are to a potential hire?
Yeah, not that close. I think now we're in the process. If you think about compared to the Nick Sirianni head coaching year, where they interviewed people, all the hot candidates. I said Brandon Staley, Arthur Smith were gotten quickly, and they kept going, until somebody wowed them.
Yeah. Seems like the Eagles aren't going to get their top candidate, and none of the candidates that they're going to bring in, the Eagles are their top job. So, it's kind of a two-way street.
Well, no, I think if they get, I don't think Declan Doyle's gotten any other interviews.
No, yeah, well, he's the first one. I mean, I think most of the
I don't think Charlie Weiss has gotten any other interviews that I saw.
Was he confirmed with the Eagles interview?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Even no reporter, even no national reporter put it out?
Nope.
Yeah, so.
And I have not seen his name connected with anybody else. Could be wrong, but I haven't seen it. So there's, Matt Nagy was the favorite there for a while to get the Tennessee job. So I think he's interesting because Kansas City's obviously moved on and brought Eric Bieniemy back. So he's interesting from the standpoint. He's got how many options he has. He might fall into your lap, which probably wouldn't excite people, but could be worse. So, and I haven't heard a lot about Mike Kafka in other spots.
No, me neither.
Which isn't going to excite people, but whatever. Why does Mike McDaniel excite people and Mike Kafka doesn't? I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know where it comes from either. I mean, Mike is just perceived to be this offensive record, I guess.
Exactly. I mean, his Miami offenses were pretty good.
Yeah, they were pretty good. I mean, he's
I mean,
offenses.
Well, yeah, they had some significant talent, especially when Tyreek Hill was healthy.
Waddle, they had
Jalen Waddle. You talk about speed with A-Shane and Waddle and Hill on the field.
I'll be the first to say Tua is Tua. I mean, he's not, gonna be hard.
Yeah, I mean, one thing when I did see Miami, I Tua to me was like that first read better be there, or nothing else was happening. So but when they hit a high level, like they scored 70 points, they were really good. But again, it's one game, one play, fourth down, bad call on fourth down. That's it. Everything else was bad. It's just the mindset I'll never understand, but it is what it is. It exists.
All right, Johnny Mac, your final thoughts here on a Thursday edition of the show.
We'll see with Declan Doyle, but I do think where I started, I will end. I do think it's a little bit of a silver lining that the top candidates didn't want the Eagles. So don't jump off any bridges yet, unless you're worried about the snowstorm. Then feel free to panic.
Yeah, how about that? Big ass snowstorm supposed to be coming in, J-Mac.
Yeah, not a fan of that. So,
but you don't like a snowstorm.
I don't want any part of the snow, but the Eagles will be fine. I wouldn't panic about that.
All right, John, good show, man. Talk to you tomorrow.
All right, see you, man.
All right, there you go. There's Johnny Mac, John McMullen joining us right here on Birds 365. Good show today. Appreciate everybody for being here. Appreciate all the super chats. Had a good slate of super chats to get through today. So appreciate all of that. All right, we're going to see what ends up happening here with this. This job is clearly not all it's cracked up to be. However you want to spin it. I'm not going to deny my own eyeballs. Nobody wants to fucking coach here. Nobody wants to be the offensive coordinator of this offense. It's very obvious to me. So we will see what ends up happening, but it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. All right. A lot of disagreements today with John. All right. I need an extra cup of Joe. I saw someone comment that. I'm with you, whoever commented that. All right. I'll take some comments in the chat, and then we'll roll on out of here. I do appreciate everybody for being here. Don't forget to hit the like button. What is your opinion of the offensive coordinator position? Let me hear it in the chat. What do you think the biggest reason is, or just what is your perspective on the overall surge as a whole? I mean, do you feel like the team isn't getting the candidates they want? Do you feel like it's for one reason or another? Let me know in the chat what you think of the offensive coordinator search. I'll take a couple comments on it right now. I am not wowed at all by the search, and I think in a way it's highlighted and has proven that many of the criticisms were warranted this year on this team and on this offense as a whole. So, let's go to the chat. Here's Gary. What's up, Gary? Gary, today might be the day, Gary, for the monitor. I got the mouse and the keyboard and all that shit. I'm doing it in increments. I think McDaniel specifically, you're talking SoCal versus Philly. Well, yeah, John brought that up. I mean, he acted like I said it wasn't a factor at all. It's obviously a factor. But in life, when you have a good opportunity, it supersedes those things. It does. I don't care what anybody says. Anybody who has professional aspirations, if you have a good enough opportunity that aligns with your professional aspirations, guess what? You make sacrifices. You do. My brother moved to New York City. He doesn't want to live in New York City at all. I'm moving in. I have an opportunity here. I have a groundbreaking opportunity to make a difference, to pursue something that could betterment my career, my life, my family's life. I will live with the weather. I will live with living somewhere I might not want to live. That's why people are going to flock to Buffalo. They got Josh Allen. Give a fuck about the weather in Buffalo. I'm coaching Josh Allen. I hear you. I get it. I'm just saying that's part of it. That's part of it, in my opinion. But I get you. Exactly right, Big Mike. That's life, isn't it, Mike? Sometimes you got to do what you got to. Sometimes you got to do what you don't want to do in order to get what you want. It's a fact, Mike. Not everything is all peaches and fucking cream. Jason Jason, wow, man, you're really with the groundbreaking comment here, man. Fucking Captain Obvious today, Jason. Zander, that's you. Not everyone thinks that way. Well, Jason, the guy you're looking at on the screen is Zander. Yeah, that's fucking me. No shit, Sherlock. Come on, man. Eric says, not an attractive job. Hurts limited, AJ wants out, and Nick is a dumbass. Plus, you can get your house eggs. It's true. True. I've been saying this. Kyle, what's up, Kyle? Zander, my work canceled the shift on Sunday with the incoming snowstorm. Wow. Yeah, it's supposed to be big. It's supposed to be like 18 inches or something. I don't believe that. 18 inches? What's the weather say now? Let me check. 15 to 19. Wow, maybe it's true. Maybe we will get that much snow. Pretty amazing. Here's Christopher. Z, all this has confirmed is the issues that you, Sills, and others have been bringing up. It shows that the league and coaching circles know the issues and don't want to be here. I agree, Christopher, as much as people will try and spin that. Brandon, what's up, Brandon? I agree. There's no one answer that fits all in this situation. Agreed. Sassy now. Well, Jason, what the fuck? You're like, Zander, that's your opinion. Well, no shit. What do you want me to do? Come up here and give everybody else's opinion? Original Philly says, Josh Allen ain't enough to get me to Buffalo. It's original. Maybe you're right. I don't know. Depends who you're talking to. To Jason's point. It was supposed to be down here, but it shifted north. Oh, yeah, you're yeah, I don't know. Where's Emrayes? Is he here? I've read Texas was getting a bunch of fucking snow. You know, when I lived in Houston, man, they got like an inch. They got like one snowplow for the whole city. They had like one snowplow at the municipal office for the city. It's like what Texas is not ready to get multiple inches of snow. I'm telling you right now, they're not built for it. They're getting rain. Okay. John says, why can't it be a QB competition? Well, who knows? Fly, what's up, Fly? Last storm 30 years ago, blizzard in 96. I was in high school. These storms come around every 20 to 30 years. I don't know where you are, Fly. You got to let me know. Because if you're in Philly, I mean, is it? No, it's not been that long. Has it for this type of storm? Bruce says, the weather is like Sirianni. A fucking lie. Classic, Bruce. Classic. Mayor Rizzo says, weather talk. Fascinating. Shut the fuck up, Mayor Rizzo. You're not all that enticing. Ray says, I'm ready to get snowed in for 3 days. There you go, Ray. Yeah, because they're not plowing the streets in Texas, big dog. No plows in Texas. Drew says, I hate snow, but I'd be willing to trade weather with y'all for sure. Going to average being minus 15 the next 2 days and minus 3 or minus 9. That's just a regular temp. Where are you? Canada? Oh, Drew, that might explain some of your takes. Yeah, Race, they don't have Race. I'm telling you, when I lived in Houston, we got like 1 inch one time, like a fucking flurry. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know what to do. I was cracking up. Keith, that's the most Keith comment I've ever heard in my life. I could have predicted that from a mile away, Keith. Prince says, y'all still crying. Prince, welcome to Philly, bro. Welcome bar to bar in Westchester. No cars. There you go. Zander, you tell a Southern an Arctic storm is coming and all hell breaks loose. That's true, Kyle. That's true, Kyle. I got gas for my blower and there you go. Good job, Slagger. Wait, Slagger, there's an old saying. Get your house in order. Well done, Slagger. Well done, my friend. Here's MJ. I moved from North Carolina to New York 6 months ago. I hate this weather. Can't take out my old cars. Yeah, that's brutal. Yeah, I'm MJ. I follow you on Insta, so I know you got the nice car collection. Brutal, brother. The vet's in the garage for the snowstorm for me. I cleaned it off, got her cleaned up, and put it in the garage. Put it in the garage. Vet is in the garage for me. Big Z, minus 22 here in Minnesota. Holy shit. Minus 22? The fuck? That's brutal. Drew said he's in Wisconsin. Ooh. Is that why you defend is Jurgens from Wisconsin? Is that where he's from? About to get my glass for there you go. Gas, good stuff. Fly Parks. Get your house in order, as they say. All right. All right, guys. Good show today. I hate to say it, but I disagree with much of what John had to say today. I mean, I don't think Cam Jurgens is just going to return. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't think a back surgery is the same as a knee surgery. You know, that's probably the one I disagree with him the most on. I mean, what the fuck? Really? A back surgery is the same probability of a return as a knee surgery or a ankle? I don't know. All right. I don't know. Who knows, man? That to me sounds crazy. Intern, I might take it over to the parking lot, you know, and spin it out a couple times. Yeah, I normally intern. I'm the kind of guy that drives it, you know. Like I don't really. Some people baby it, which I get, I understand, but I'm too young for that. You know, I'll baby my cars when I'm 50 or 60, if God willing, if I get there. I'm not gonna baby them now. I drive the shit out of that thing, dude. I drive the shit out of that thing. Smack a pole too. Not me, man. I know how to drive. 215 Philly. I live outside Hershey. Oh, nice. I used to go out there for hockey when I was young. We used to drive all the way to fucking Hershey, the Quebec national team. That's no joke, that team. I've yet to see someone have a successful back surgery and go back to the way they were. Yeah, Daz, apparently I'm an idiot, though. I don't know. I couldn't believe the lack of realization of back problems versus an ankle. Catch me too. Me too. I didn't quite understand that one. But all right, guys. Let's see. Does anybody have a prediction on who the next OC is? I still think you're going to hear like a second interview for Bobby Slowick. I don't know why I'm holding on to that name. I don't have any real particular reason to, other than that I could see it. Here's a guy. I just got a tweet. Zander. Bad take this morning with John. Weather and family play a factor in where coaches and players play. Darius Slay and Mike McDaniel. I know you want to put it all on Hurts, but come on, bro. Do better. Thanks, Trevo. I'll try and make sure I do better so I satisfy you. If you think that this fucking putrid offense has more to do or has less to do with this job opening than weather, yeah, we disagree vehemently. Sure, it's a factor. It's one of those extra variables that goes into the decision. It's the icing on the cake. It's the toppings on the meal. It's the sides at the restaurant. It's not this meat and potatoes. It's not the meat and potatoes. Well, the weather in Philly, can't go to Philly because of the weather. It's like it's Philly. I'm not in fucking Buffalo. I'm not in Wisconsin. I'm not in fucking Minnesota. It's Philly. It's okay. You're an hour and a half from the fucking coast. You're within 2 hours of the business hub of the world, New York City. I mean, this isn't an objectively outside of the city walls, which has become a fucking nightmare because of the politics in there. This is not a bad place to live. The weather is not that egregious. People say, "Oh, the weather in Philly, like we're sitting in the fucking Arctic tundra." It's like 40 degrees this week. Let me fucking load up the weather app because all you idiots. It's 45 today. It's 40-5 today. It's 43 in the city of Philadelphia today. Oh, yeah. Guys, we can't go to Philly to coach. Wow. Yeah, that's problem number one. Yeah, you're right. Zander does blame Jalen. Well, Prince, let me ask you a question, Prince. Let me ask you a question. What offense in the National Football League, when they underperform, is the QB 0% of the problem? You tell me. Josh Allen is maybe the only reason that team wins. And then when they lose, what happens, Prince? Josh Allen blew it. Josh Allen did this. Right? But in Philadelphia, apparently it's everything but the quarterback, the guy who touches the ball every fucking play. Yeah, right. You guys got Zander fired? Yeah, I am fired up. Who said 0? It's a lot more than 0, T-Time. It's a lot more than 50. I hate to break it to you. I'm saying you do blame him. Yeah, absolutely I do. Why would I not blame him? He's the quarterback of the offense. The offense objectively sucked. The offense hasn't been able to pass the ball for 3 years consistently and successfully. Why would he not be? And I talk about the Eagles for a living. The quarterback is evidently a big part of the Eagles. Everybody agree with that, right? If you talk about the Eagles for a living, you'd have to talk about the quarterback, right? If you talked about the Bills for a living, you talk about the quarterback. Is that right? We can all come to that understanding? Okay, great. The quarterback here is the quarterback of an offense that has been the reason they lost. They were the 3-and-out kings, as Catch dubs them in the chat. They can't move the ball through the air. They can't get the ball to 2 wideouts who are much above league average. Yeah, you're right. I know, guys. It's 0. I know. It's not Jalen. It's not Jalen. I know. Hurts is an OC killer. Well, we'll see. 3-and-out Kings, 17 yards and a half. History of failure. Catch, apparently that's not allowed to be part of the conversation. The offense is going to look how Jalen wants it to look. Jalen Hurts. Zander, is it time to replace Jake Elliott? Yeah, I'd say it's time to replace Jake Elliott. Good career here in Philly, though. No one wants to work with Nick or Jalen. Both limited. Yeah, I do think they're both limited. But, again, it's a tough sell to think that both the coach and the quarterback are limited and they've had the success they've had. That's probably the number one thing I'd give to Jalen is how can you be as bad as people think Jalen is and win as much as they have? That's the number one thing that I think is fair in terms of defense of Jalen. Here's Thomas. What's up, Thomas? Does it matter who we hire if they're just going to run Nick and Jalen's offense after 4 weeks anyway? It's a good question, Thomas. You're asking the real hard-hitting questions this morning. You're asking that's the real question. That's funny. OC is forced to accept risk averse. Y'all seen games, Jalen who himself, but he bad. T-Time, I'm not sure what you're saying, man. Like, if you have a take, just make the take. You're speaking like in tongues. What's the take? T-Time, come on, brother. Hit me with the take. If I agree with it, I'll tell you. If I disagree with it, I don't, and that's fine. We can go about our way. Hurts did not turn Moore into a head coach, LOL. Saquon did. Well, I don't think anybody disagrees with that. I mean, the running back had a historic year. T-Time, damn. Yeah, T-Time. No, T-Time, I'm fucking tired today. I got John telling me backs are the same as ankles. I mean, I got John telling me that weather is more important than the offense, which has sucked for 3 years. Yeah, I'm fucking on edge today. I'm on edge today. You can't even get up and get a snack during the game. You miss the offense that quick. It's true. The offense is the pee break. That's when you take the piss break. You go to the bathroom. You know, you got to take a quick shit during the game, run to the bathroom. The offense comes out, all right, we just run to the bathroom. The Braden Mann will be on the field by the time I return anyway. So I know everybody's in. I know. Everybody's look. The thing I like about football is that everybody's got their own fucking opinion, and the truth of the matter is none of us fucking know. Anybody who thinks they know more than some, none of us really fucking know. All right, and that goes for everybody. We'll see what happens on the football field. Game can go any way every single Sunday. That's how it works. So we will find out what happens. Here's Prince. Prince has been mad at me this offseason. Prince, me and you we're like in a tug of war right now, Prince. All right, we've been going back and forth. Prince checks in every day. Oh, Xander's still bitching. You know, I talk about the Eagles, dude. I have to bitch, unfortunately. The city likes bitching about the football team anyway. You know, every time I go to a family outing, someone's fucking bitching to me about the Eagles. And then I come on here and people act like people don't bitch about the Eagles. Prince, Zander, I was telling people to brace themselves because you do blame them. Stop talking like it's something new. That was my point. All right, Prince. Relax, big cat. I'm happy I have bodyguard Prince in the chat to make sure everybody knows exactly what I mean. All right. Here's Big Mike Z. Cleaning up my youngest son's boxes he left. Found Madden 06. Maybe we should run the Eagles offense off that. Hey, you might run a good one. Was it Madden 06 or 07, which used to be legendary? Wasn't Michael Vick insane in one of them? Like, he was like the greatest Madden quarterback of all fucking time. You just held in big or whatever it was. You launched like 80 yards or you just ran. You could run around everybody. Theo says, Zay, you blame accordingly as you should. Theo, I don't profess to know it all, but I blame honestly what I honestly believe. You know, it doesn't mean I'm right. I will always say that. I don't say I'm always right, but I'm always honest. And sometimes again, maybe I'm not correct, but at least you know where I stand. The Bills are interviewing Brian Daboll this morning. Just got that notification. So it is what it is. Here is Bird Gang. Success is lipstick on the pig, Xander. We seen the pig without makeup. At the end of the day, I'm still rolling with the birds. 26 LFG. Let's go, Bird Gang. I like that comment. You're willing to look the problems in the face, but you're also willing to say, I'll still love my team and cheer them on. I respect that, Bird Gang. Baltimore interviewing Brady. Prince says, I'm not mad at you. That's all right, Prince. I'm not mad at you either. Prince, I'm never mad at you. I like Prince because Prince can disagree and have a combo. He's just sometimes fucking Delulu. That's what I love about you, Prince. Sometimes you're fucking Delulu. Fucking Prince. I like that he can disagree and have a convo, but good Lord, this guy is Delulu. Come on, Prince. Clap back. All right, I'm getting out of here. Dude, Kyle, I've been saying Slowick. I've been saying Slowick all week. I could see that. And actually, I don't know if Slowick would be a bad hire. I wouldn't hate Slowick. You know, he was really good with CJ first year. You see what CJ is now. I mean, we think Jalen's bad at processing? Has anybody watched CJ Stroud? Holy fuck. That guy sits there. He doesn't know what the fuck he's looking at. He doesn't know. And then when he doesn't know what he's looking at, he exacerbates it by when the pass rush gets to him, he still makes the dumbest play possible by trying to get the ball out. Fumbles, interceptions, balls flying up in the air. Like, he doesn't know what. At least when Jalen doesn't know what he's doing, he rolls out and throws the ball away. I mean, fuck. I'll take that. Stroud looks brutal catch. Awful. I mean, unwatchable. Yeah, who knows? T-Time says that Josh. This is what I hate, bro. Honestly, I'm sorry. Really? Like, do you watch Josh Allen and you don't walk away like, yeah, that dude's got some fucking crazy talent. Does he make every right play? No. Does he make mistakes? Absolutely. Is it perfect? Hell no. But you don't walk away from Josh Allen just seeing, holy fuck, that guy has talent. I mean, that's what I see when I watch him. I don't know. Maybe I'm off my rocker. I see some insane talent. Prince, this is my number one takeaway. The playoffs blows without the Eagles. We are the number one draw, Prince. Whether we suck or we're great, we're the number one draw. What's good, Xander? Hope all is well. Dez, appreciate you, bro. Hope you're doing good, man. Here's tea time. I do. He is elite, but the dumbass. Oh, it's bad. It's due. It's bad. Tea time. I agree. Ray says the heart in Z's eyes when the topic of Josh Allen. Oh, now I'm Cilio. He's a good quarterback, man. I respect a player who's got talent like that. I think he's an emotional wreck. You want me to criticize Josh Allen? Dude, stop being a fucking emotional wreck. You're making like these emotional sob songs about your wife groping some dude on a TV screen. You're crying on the podium. Dude, you're a fucking grown man. Get your shit together. I mean, get your fucking shit together. You want me to that's my criticism of Josh Allen. You're an emotional wreck. I mean, if I want to watch you cry, then you know, turn to the women in your life or whatever. You're crying on the podium. It's like, holy fuck, dude. You got to go play 60 and win a ball game. Here's my boy Caleb. 20% Hurts, 30% O-line, 50% OC, my opinion. 20% is a lot, but it's a soup. Everything help, everything. But I think better in-game play calling and rhythm could have helped the most. Caleb, here's where I agree with you. I don't agree with your percentages. I would more put it like 40 O-line, 40 Hurts, 20 OC. Or like 35, 35, 30. How about that? 35 Hurts, 35 O-line, 30 OC. Is that fair? I'll give you that. That's probably where I'll be. Where I do agree with you is I refuse to believe that they can't get somebody that can get more out of Jalen Hurts. Like, I refuse to believe that. You're telling me that this is the best we can do in terms of using the quarterback to his skill set. That is where I agree with Jalenites. I mean, this is fucking crazy. You're telling me nobody can come in here and get this guy to do better than what he did? I can't buy that. That's what I don't buy. Mary says, I love when you listen to Dan and John. Yeah, they now don't argue with each other. They walk on eggshells around each other. It sucks. I wish they debated every day. Bird Gang says, you ain't wrong, Xander. Allen's a beast. All these people would love to have Josh's talent mixed in with Hurts. That's exactly what I mean about Josh Allen. That's exactly what I mean. Can you imagine Josh Allen if he had Jalen Hurts' mindset? He'd be a fucking machine. He'd be an absolute unit. But instead, he's sulking. He's sulking. Here's Philly Tide Z. A big part of what John was saying is how we shred an OC if things don't go well. Well, I agree Jalen's a part of the reason. But lines were crossed when it came to Kevin's home. Oh, absolutely, Philly Tide. I'll never disagree with that. I said that in the moment. Dude, I grew up in this fucking place. I know how Philly fans sometimes are fucking ridiculous. And any honest Philly fan will tell you the same exact thing. They're fucking ridiculous sometimes. That's part of the shtick. That's part of the city. But I agree completely. I don't know if you're from Philly or not Philly Tide, but yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, you're throwing a bunch of – wait a second. Let's dumb this down. You guys want to dumb this down for a second? A bunch of dudes that don't give a flying fuck about any of us wearing tights and spandex and a uniform and some gear, running around a patch of grass in Center City is enough for you to go and harass a man's family? A bunch of dudes in tights throwing a fucking ball around the field? I mean, come on. It's ridiculous. When you really dumb it down, sometimes sports as a whole, when you really dumb it down, is insane. I mean, a bunch of dudes throwing a ball into a hoop. A bunch of dudes throwing a leather ball around a field. A bunch of dudes hitting a rubber puck around a rink. It's never that serious is the point. It's never that serious. If you're going to harass a man's family, then whoever is harassing somebody's family is a much bigger scumbag and a much worse person than fucking Kevin Petula, who can't call a play. That's not Cilio fans, right? That's an insane comment. Prince says, Prince, I agree with this, and I appreciate the comment. Xander, that's my problem. Can we get someone in the building who can utilize his strengths? See, Prince, so I agree completely, dude. But here's the thing that, like, I think is tough. You're trying to get a guy in here who can do that. And it appears, I'm not saying I'm right, but it appears to me, the perception to me is that nobody wants to do it. Like, none of the OCs want to do it. None of the OCs that we would put in this category, Prince, appear to want the job in Philly. You know, like that's what it seems to me. And I'm not saying that's all on Hurts or not. I don't know if it is or not. Maybe John's right. Maybe it's the weather. Maybe it's the 40-degree weather, which is in like 90% of fucking cities, but who knows? That's what it appears. I do agree, though. I mean, get somebody in here who can try and get the most out of them, or is going to actually put them in an environment and an offense and a system that will bring the best out of him. Because the version of Hurts that we've seen is not the best of him. There's more in that tank. That I agree with. But I don't know, like, Prince, how do you do it? You know, Prince, give me your, who is that to you, Prince? Who is that person in the building who can utilize his strengths, that wants to come here or that will take the job here without it being some guy who either takes the job or he's out of the fucking league? And I do not think that's all Hurts, by the way. I do think the organization has some fault in that as well. I think John's on to something with the owner. Intern says a creative college guy. Potentially. I mean, interns also, I mean, I know people like to think, you know, oh, yeah, if you're going to get a head coaching or a coaching job in the NFL, anybody's going to take it. I think I don't know, man. I think the world has changed in a way in that regard. Like, I think people aren't going to, I don't know that everybody, some people will, but I don't know that everybody's going to jump at the leap if they don't feel like it's the right fit for them. And what I mean by that is you go and look for a creative college guy who, you know, has dreamed of coaching in the NFL. They might sit and hang tight for a second. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, but I do think that that's a more prominent mindset today than it was maybe 15, 20 years ago. You know, I brought up Ben Johnson earlier, and it's like, remember everybody was saying about Ben, me included. I'm like, wow, what a jerk. I mean, not a jerk, but like, damn. Dude's like, I want $17 million or I'm not leaving my OC role. Meanwhile, everybody else, a lot of other guys are like, oh, you know, only 32 coaching jobs. When they come, you got to take them. Ben's like, nah, I don't like that gig. If you give me 17, I'll come. He waited. He got the job he wanted, and look at the success he's had. So I think if you're an offensive coach in college, and if you're really good, you're going to continue to be good in college. Why not wait for the right opportunity? Maybe this is the right opportunity, but it doesn't seem like that's the data is showing us that that's what offensive minds want, is to come here to Philly. You know, I don't know, man. See, this is kind of exactly what I mean. They know if they fail, they're out of an OC job across the league. Yeah, look at Petula. Here's Caleb. Sadly, it may be Doug or Shane, true OC gurus. I'd love Doug. Doug's one of my favorite coaches in history. Doug is my favorite Eagles coach in history. We need a young mind. Potentially. Here's Reyes. Cooter or Weiss? Since some of y'all seem to think he hasn't evolved since college, maybe we need a college coach. He has evolved, but I don't think the question is, has he evolved? I think he's clearly evolved. The question is, have we reached the peak? And if we have reached the peak, is the player at his peak good enough to do what you need him to do? That's what I think the question is. I don't think it's that people think he hasn't evolved. I think that's dumb. He's obviously evolved. I mean, he's definitely not the player he was, you know, I mean, anybody who's an Alabama fan, which I know we got Roll Philly or Roll Tide in here. There's some Alabama fans in here, I think. I mean, if you watched Jalen in college, I mean, guys, he's a lot better now. And versus Alabama. Like fucking, it's like night and day. But, you're talking about the greatest quarterbacks on the planet. You're talking about the best of the best of the best of the best. And if Jalen's evolved to the point he has, if that evolution has ended, is it enough? I don't know. I mean, I think it's enough when you have the things around him. I think he's proven that. If you got the things around him, and he does what he needs to do to win. He's not necessarily the guy that puts the team on the back, but Kyle says, Xander, how realistic do you think Caden Proctor, the Bama kid? I mean, I watched him all year. He's got his flaws, but he's got this amazing athletic upside, that Kyle people tend to jump on in the NFL. The Bama love to throw these fucking fake bullshit plays to him and try and like throw the ball to him in the flat. I hated the plays, but they did use them. They work sometimes. I think he can make it to 23. It depends, dude. I got to look at the draft board, Kyle. Once I drive a little bit more in and we get a feeling on how good the top 20 names are, I think we'll be able to tell. If it's one of those years, Kyle, where anybody could go anywhere, I think he'll go earlier. Here's Caleb again. My next thing would be all quarterbacks that have won had great pieces around them. I agree with that. I'm more talking about, Caleb, when the inevitable fluctuations come on the roster, because they're going to come, dude. You're not going to have the great running game every year. You're not going to have the perfect offensive line every year. You're not going to have perfect receivers every year. The steadying force is always going to be the quarterback. And can the quarterback elevate in those moments, in those spots, in those situations? That's where I think the question is. I'll read your full comment. My next thing would be all quarterbacks that have won had great pieces around them. Agree for the most part. Like we said a few weeks earlier, not many quarterbacks in recent memories won Super Bowls without loaded teams. Go back and look at the last 20. It's largely true. It's largely true. Dez says, funny how Bama and Philly. Yeah, Dez. It's that fucking Pac-12 coach we hired, dude. It's the Pac-12 coach we hired. Are you talking about, if you're talking about Bama, which I know you're a Bama fan, Dez, that's what it is. That fucking Pac-12 coach who wants to throw the ball over the fucking lot. I get it. But abandoning the run never ends well in any phase of football. I don't give a shit where you're playing. There's a reason that the oldest thing in football, back to 1920 when this league was founded, run the ball and stop the run. If you can do that, everything will build on. Oh, Philly Tide, the crop top is brutal. I'm with you. Here's our pump. This is how I know Nick and KP are Madden players. The meta in that game is to call 4 verts, hitches, and especially on 4th down. I can't, man. Pump, I have no idea if they're Madden guys. I don't really give a shit about Madden. Yeah, Des, I think he's okay, but not a huge fan of the fit, Des, in Bama. M. Reyes, sir, you're a casual. Ben Johnson is a dog. Oh, was M. Reyes think Ben Johnson isn't a good coach? Come on, Reyes. Ben Johnson's an awesome coach, dude. Ben Johnson's awesome offensive mind. Now, maybe it doesn't last. Oh, you meant Brian. Okay. All right, you're good. I think Brian was good, too. Watch the Madden tournament? What is the Madden tournament? You can watch guys play Madden? Like you watch it like it's a football game? That's wild. That is wild. Like you're telling me you load up like on YouTube or like on somewhere like a Madden tournament? I assume you can play in it. That makes sense. Yeah, but I'm talking viewership. I'm not talking playing it. I'm talking about viewership. You watch it? Dude, I need to start playing Madden. If you're telling me people watch it, that's all I care about. Is there an audience? People, it's one thing to play it. It's one thing to like play it professionally or something. You're telling me some of you guys watch Madden online. Damn, I didn't know that really. I didn't really know that, honestly. Should I entertain it or should I watch a game of Madden? You think I'll enjoy it? I can't imagine I'll enjoy watching somebody. I can't imagine that. I watch lots of Madden content. Dang, that's dope. Who you got? Anybody good I should go watch? Dude, AI is insane intern. I can't get off Claude Code and Cowork. I literally have been up till 3 a.m. every fucking night on Claude Cowork. It is insane. It's fucking incredible, dude. Oh, Gary just sent me one. Nice, Gary. I'll check it out. I will check it out. I will check it out. Claude Cowork though is nuts. If you want to sit on your computer all day and never want to walk away from it because you're just doing so much crazy shit that you never thought you could do, Claude Cowork, Claude Code, get on there. It's nuts. Caleb says, watch Madden all over. I was top 100, no lie. And Madden is like modern chess, man, with the adjustments you can make now. The elite games are amazing. You guys are making me want to fucking buy Madden. I never viewed myself as being like a video game guy at this stage of my life. I mean, here and there, but when's the next Madden stream? I haven't played Madden in fucking quite a long time. Can't imagine. All right, Gary and Caleb, you guys want to start a channel? You guys want to start a channel? Joint ownership. All right. You guys duke it out. That's pretty funny. Gary says, I have a league. I'm in like 13 guys right now. Long-term. Damn, that's fucking crazy. That's dope. Madden requires skill, does it? I could see that. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure with all the plays and everything. All right, guys. Good show. Man, I was pissed off today. I'm still pissed off. I woke up. I'm fucking Claude co-working until 3 a.m. again. John's telling me back surgery is the same as ankle surgery. People don't want to coach in Philly because the weather. I don't know, man. It's been a bad morning for your boy Big Z. But you keep going. You keep attacking the day. And you wake up tomorrow. And it's another opportunity to be great. All right. This morning was one to forget, though. I'll say that. It was one to forget. Let me make sure I got all my super chats. So, not the best morning. But hey, isn't that all of us? It's not always the best fucking day. Welcome to life. Z, I got your bro an invite to the 500. Oh, Gary, it's sick. Make sure he takes you. Dude, knowing him, he's going to have to take his office. Is it like a business invite? Yeah, he's going to have to take the office probably, or somebody from the office. I'll tell him to fuck off. Gary, he's a dude. Gary, you'd be proud of my bro, dude. He is a machine. A machine. His boss, who he left to work for before he started the company, the venture capitalist, Kevin Ryan, his name is. He's multi-billionaire in New York City. He owns a bunch of firms, bunch of companies, investor in MongoDB, which is a multi-billion-dollar company that went public on the stock market. His former boss, who gave them their seed investment for their business, said, of every business in my portfolio, and it's a lot of businesses, 100 plus, there's not a CEO that comes close to Joseph Krause. Not a CEO that comes close to Joseph Krause. He's a fucking machine, my brother. Machine. Absolute beast. Absolute beast. Proud of him, man. Proud of him. Proud of him. Gary, give him a little bit, man. I'm telling you right now, things are still tight. Give him a couple years. If it's not this year, Gary, it'll come. Don't you worry. I'm telling you, man, he is a machine. He is a boss, a total fucking boss. Zander, we had the only OC opening with a standing head coach. What do you mean? I don't know what you mean. But, oh, shit. All right, I'm out of here. I'm done. I'm tired. Pump, I don't know what you mean. I love all you guys. See you next time, everybody.
EAGLES. Eagles.